Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Paladins Premier League. My name is Gormizer, and it's a beautiful Thursday here for you. Week 5 is going to be starting, and we have pretty much everything you could want. Two teams that are looking like top rival teams are going to be playing today, as well as missing players. Kanga trying to fight and show us what they're worth and what they've got, and all of that's going to be pretty much the story of this week. And to help me kind of facilitate and bring you this story, at least for the first set, I have Kresnik on the desk with me. Kresnik, I think you're just as excited as I am for some of these sets today.
I mean, yeah, last time I was here when Nip and VP played, they played 8 games.
Yeah, and a best of 7, that's a remarkable accomplishment. In fact, I think the only set I've ever seen go that long.
Yeah, and and now it's a different roster too, an even stronger VP coming out from last week, so it could be an even better game than last time.
It could potentially not even go 8 games. We'll have to see how that works. But first, we have to see, well, what exactly the standings look like right now. NIP are still the team up on top. And, well, still pretty comfortably doing so, being up there with their 14-3, about 10 maps there ahead of Na'Vi. But for a long time, that 3 was a 0, and so seeing that tick up ever so gradually is, I think, enlightening to some of these other teams. You're going to see Na'Vi later, although it is worth noting, and if you didn't know this, Creative's not going to be playing with them. Ninu instead is filling that hole in the roster. We'll have more on that when that set comes through. And then 5 and 6, it's Virtus.Pro and Kanga. And while Kanga, I think, feels much like the team that is down there, Virtus.Pro 5th does not do them justice right now. Yeah. I just do not think it's one of those things. I mean, we have 7 teams, maybe 8, depending on the day for the Renegades, that are completely competitive. But Virtus.Pro has been on a tear lately.
Yeah, I mean, last week they looked like one of the best teams that we've ever seen in the league. I mean, double 4-0 last week. They had a much more successful week than Nip did. I mean, they dropped 2-4 to Envy after VP had just dominated them the day before. So this is going to be a big game to watch, and that seeding, you're right, it definitely does not, I think it's not indicative of how they've been playing. Yeah,
and honestly, when you look at it and kind of dissect them a little bit, they improved after adding 2 specific players coming in from MSI and looking more and what they were able to do. Erase, who was MVP there, did a ton. But Cruncy is actually the one that comes to my mind because these 2 guys have been able to do a lot. Cruncy has been able to open up doors. I think, unfortunately, Pule was not able to when he was playing on this roster. And now he's bringing maybe some insider intel because he used to play for NIP.
Yeah, and he was one of the main callers for NIP back then, too. I mean, a very vocal member of that team. So he might know some of the ideas, but I feel like this is a different NIP from back then. I think they've changed their play style a lot, and the leadership has changed a lot, but he has an idea of the tendencies of how they want to play. And being able to take that and bring it, I think they might be able to pick NIP apart.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what they're able to accomplish as they come through. But this guy, again, he has just been remarkable in the kind of impact he's been able to have. And it's just one of those things that he isn't doing much different than Pule did on his best days. But he does it more consistently, and I think that's the key that has allowed VP to kind of rise up.
This is also a role that he's been playing very consistently. Pule was switching from main tank to off tank, so he was kind of playing all these off champions. Crunchy's been doing this for quite a while, and he also has better DPS flexibility, I feel, than Pule did, so he's able to bring out that triple DPS. If they see the drafts where it'll fit, you know, Na'Vi kind of been forcing it, but VP, I feel like they would take it mostly if the opportunity kind of grants itself.
And I think the highlights show it the best. The guy's been playing for a long time, too, whether it's been in the minor league, whether it's been in the Premier League, no matter what, he's been around the scene for a good amount of time, and he's been impactful on pretty much every single team he's touched on. Between him and Erase, I think those 2 were nothing but positive benefits here for the team. And then you have to look at kind of everything else that gives, I guess, the flavor to them. I mean, Fasheko is almost always consistent. It was a little bit of an issue in a couple of those years on LAN, how it just wouldn't quite stand up to it. But when it comes down to it, he lately has been on fire.
I feel like that too. I mean, they've also been giving him champions he's really liked. He got AV, I think, pretty consistently in the 2 weeks ago. And his impact on that hero is just almost unmatched. Combined with the aggression that K-Cruncy brings, plus being able to kind of sync up with him more without the language barrier, that's a really hard side of the map to control. You know, when you have that much power on your flank angle, it's really hard for some teams to just kind of have that passive play that a lot of teams have been developing lately in this meta.
I know a lot of teams, and I think even you have said this in the past, like one of the things right now in this meta and really just in the way the teams play that wins you sets can be your off tank along with your flex, your flank, whatever you want to call them. And that's part of why this team has maybe excelled lately. It's part of the reason SSG are very, very formidable when they come through, because they have very, very good off tanks, very good flanks. And this team just, it almost feels stacked, actually, at this point. Now that I'm looking at it, like, it's a weird day to say that I think Dosups might be the weakest member of this, and it's just that, unfortunately for him, it's just because he's the front line, and that's kind of how the stats tend to lean.
But he's still doing what he has to do, you know, getting that objective control. He's been doing this for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
And he's one of the few who has that DPS flexibility, too. You know, we all remember Doe's Cassie.
It's always fun when you get to see it. Maybe we'll have one quad DPS where we get to see it come through. But, you know, Timbermill might still be on the board. We'll have to find that out a little later. But they do have a pretty tough opponent to go up against today, because even though they are 5th, even though they are looking incredible, they are fighting 1st seed and very, very difficult to beat, as has been proven that they only have 3 losses total, Ninjas in Pyjamas. And it's just a consistent team. And the thing is the only way I can think to word it is they don't tilt the way other teams do. They don't really get upset as much, or even when they do, they have like a better reset button.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they don't tilt as much in the regular season.
Yeah.
From what I can tell. It's hard to say that without having them seen in a playoff, but I think MSI was almost our little preview of that, where in the game against Penta in the finals, it started pretty good for them. And then once Penta took control, it was almost impossible for NIP to wrestle it back. But they need to be able to find that, I think, that Zen they have in the regular season. Maybe a bonker Lexless Zen, ideally. They could bring that. But, I mean, they have that power in the regular season. They need to be able to bring it forward.
I think there's a lot to be expected. There's Bonker on screen. And I actually think one of the most interesting matchups, it's very weird, I think, to say this, maybe just as weird to hear it, is going to be the front line. And is going to be kind of centered around how much control you're going to see out of not only the off-tanks, Diggy and Crunchy, but also Dosups going toe-to-toe with Bonker. Like, that is a lot of control that could very easily slip out of your hands if you just take one misstep or misuse one cooldown.
And I think that's in big part to NIP's drafting decisions, too, because they never ban those really powerful tanks. They choose to ban DPSs instead. So letting those through does put a lot more pressure on those tanks, and I think it works against some teams that might have weaker off-tanks. But, again, we mentioned VP having Crunchy, and I think that might be rough against them. I want to see them be a little more flexible, because it just bit them against Envy. They kept giving Rubu Makoa, they kept trying to play triple tank into it, and it just was not working. They couldn't find that adaptation before they were down 4-0, 4-2.
This is a very foreign sentence to what I'm about to try and say, because I don't think I've uttered these words, but it's scary to think that there's something out there that is scarier than giving Rubu Makoa, and that would probably be giving Diggy Dog Makoa or to Bonker. Either of them have been able to kind of showcase a very, very strong amount of strength with that champion, and like you said, it's been kind of melting some of these triple tank compositions. It doesn't work too well. And that's the other thing I think that NIP have going for them that we haven't really gotten to touch on. It's not just, you know, oh yeah, they can run whatever draft, but between Bittner and Alex, they literally can run pretty much anything they want in the game.
Yeah, and they need to be able to put the characters on the people on the right characters, though. Because last week we even saw they were running triple tank, it was great, and then they put Alex on Khan, and suddenly it looked a lot weaker from that, you know? So they need to be able to, when they do these drafts, when they're being flexible, they need to not, I think, over-rely on their flexibility and say, well, let's just pick anything. And then when they're loading into the game, they're like, so what does my right click do? You know, you definitely want a little bit more going on than that, at least in the planning stage.
It's fun. I mean, these guys, it's fun to see them because they come in a lot to scrim, NIP does. And so it's really interesting when you're walking around in the studio, like if we're doing minor league, console league, when you're walking to the desk, you walk past the player booths, and sometimes you just hear them cackling in the middle of a scrim, which is probably not good for whoever they're scrimming, because that is usually a bad sign. And then sometimes you hear them come out and they're just deep in discussion about something that's intricately meta, and I try not to eavesdrop, but sometimes I want to because it's just so interesting to listen to them talk about it. But it's just, you get so much dynamic out of them that I really never know what to expect, because they are the kind of team I fully could believe they were like, you know what? Alex has never played, let's say, Atlas in his life, but today's the day. Maybe we just throw him on there.
Get one casual in. And then maybe, you know, we'll talk about how Beyond the Veil works. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I mean, you're right about how kind of serious they are about that about their strategy. Like they do try to find something that works. They try to make it go from there. And I do think though that even if they find something that works for them, they need to be willing to shift off of it if they notice it's not working anymore. Like I said last week, 2 weeks ago, excuse me, triple tank was something they just kept forcing, and it was just getting countered by that playstyle. They need to be more flexible in that, and not necessarily in their picks, just in the strategies that they try to bring. If they think something's OP, it can still be countered.
And so I actually kind of think that this conversation can be pivoted into something that can also be tackled in certain maps, maybe lending certain strategies over others. So like Jag Falls has been incredibly big lately. Bright Marsh has been just as big. Stonekeep, like those have been like the 3 most common maps of Phase 2. Are there any of those that like scream one of these teams more to you, or do they both just kind of come up 50-50? It's a roll of the dice in the draft.
I would say the only one that's huge to me would be like Jag to Nip because of the no EV
also because
for VP.
They do so much pip there. That's disgusting.
I mean, did you see Bonkers Lex last time?
I did. Part of my brain just keeps screaming. Every time I hear it, my brain screams at how wrong it is. And it wants to think it was a bad dream. But that was, I guess, week 13, so it's almost the same thing.
I mean, Tenor's pip, yeah, it is really dominant on that map. And the lack of flankers, I think, does weaken VP a little bit. So that's the only map I would say is strongly sided to them. But I think the off maps will be better for VP in the long run.
Well, one of the things that we've had, and one of the things you mentioned, Jag Falls not being able to feature it, but I think pretty much every other map we've seen him run it on. It's Fasheko right there on your screen at his Eevee play. He's done the play like a pro with Eevee. We've seen him make countless game-winning plays on Eevee as well. And it's those kind of moments, again, pivots back to what is your flex doing, what is your DPS doing. Like when these two are together, it makes a big combo. And he has been one of the most consistent and easily best EVs we've seen Paladins history, period.
I mean, yeah, he's been in the discussion for the best EV for, I think, as long as I can remember. I started playing in late 2017, and his name has been up there for at least as long as that for that.
Well, someone's going to try to take it from him, but it's going to probably take a while before anyone gets there. We actually have Fasheko, who did sit down to give us a play like a pro for Eevee. So if you've been wondering what exactly is going through his brain when he's playing it, here it is.
I'm just here so I go and find Fasheko, Eevee. Oh no, help me. So talents are pretty simple for Eevee. Over the Moon doesn't exist. Competitive games, you run Wormhole. And if you want to have fun with it, you play Snow Globe. Over the Moon is useless, but I'm gonna talk about Snowstorm because it's actually good. Yeah, Snow Globe loadout is completely different because it's completely different playstyle. Yeah. But you still want to run the healing on the Blink just because you get the resets. Reset cooldowns on eliminations, no, on kills, random kills. Yeah. And reset Soar cooldown on kills as well. Basically, you're either gonna pop off or you're just gonna be useless. Once you get your ulti, you just go for a play. And what's good about Snow Globe is you get it first every single time on every single point fight, and you can ult as much as 6 times in a point fight if you play it good and you don't die. It's a very different playstyle than Wormhole. That's why people prefer not to play it. But once you get the hang of it, it's very useful for your team, and you can pop off way harder than on Wormhole. Champions like Barik, Pip, people that really rely on their escape ability versus Wormhole, they struggle a lot. Yeah, because Barik is good and Snowstorm completely yeah, something. It's not good. Barik is not good against Snow Globe. So Wormhole loadout is, everyone just plays with the same loadout. It's 5 points into Blink, 5 points into heal, and then you run as many points as you can into Soar Speed, and then the other two are your choice. I run ammo on Ice Block and ammo on Soar. But on smaller maps like Jag, Bright Marsh, it's dependent on their team comp as well. You can run less on Blink range and play with higher reset on kills from Soar. So you can actually pop off as well with Wormhole. But it depends. It depends on what you need to do in the game. That's basically it. Without the OT, you just, if you're playing Wormhole, you just poke. It's all you do. You're being annoying to their support / DPS. Alright, so what we're talking about is when you want to commit, it's very dependent if you hit the shot before you blink. So you should blink. If that shot hits when you're in the air, that's when you can commit, because most of the time you 3-shot support and hits counts. So if you hit the first shot and you're blinking, that means you already are halfway through almost. And then you can commit with your Soar / Ice Block. But if you don't hit the first shot, you're just being annoying, you're distracting them. Yeah, the cancel animation shots are what makes difference in between EV players. If you cancel after Soar, like you shoot, Soar, shoot, that takes way less time than, you know, soaring first, then shooting twice, for example. If I'm playing against a heavy hit scan comp, like they have, say, Furia, Leon, Cassie, Barik, I'll pick Heaven first. My playstyle is pretty aggressive, and I cannot play passive like most of the EVs do. You always go core rise. If you're playing against Starboat, I would say that's the only situation you go record. So resilience with EV is up to you. You have ice block, so it's skill. If you're playing against Nodambo, you can ice block Fear. If you're playing in Ara, you can ice block Stun. Basically, you can outplay anyone in the game with ice block. So I don't like running resilience on EV at all. I don't have a map to stay away. Maybe Frozen Guard. I don't know a map where I don't like EV at. Generally, in competitive, people don't like playing it on Frozen, and yeah, it's most dependent on their comp. It depends on what you want to do in that game, obviously, but EV struggles against hit scans like Leon, Maeve, Furia as support and stuff like that. So if you want to pop off and you pick it early, that means they're gonna counter it with those champions. Shalin is versus Eevee is just very skill matchup. If the Shalin is aware of where you're blinking from, or when you want to blink, that's when Shalin counters Eevee. But if Eevee finds Shalin randomly isolated, you win most of the 1v1s. Especially if you buy Haven versus Shalin, he needs 3 shots instead of 2 shots, and that's when you win. I'm Fish, and that's Eevee.
The only thing that is harder to do than beat Fish Echo's Eevee is to get him to film literally any video content ever. It was the hardest thing to get him in there, and it was pretty smooth sailing once we got him to talk about Eevee, because I think that's just his home territory. He knows Eevee maybe better than he knows himself.
Yeah, I mean, if he's going to be able to riff on anything for that long, it's going to be Eevee. That champion has been playing forever, and you know, after watching that video, I think I'm just going to go play casual right now. I think I just want to play some
Kresnik's
Eevee.
Gone, and
you know
he's leaving now. So
you know
I
what's
guess
going to
I'm
happen
sit
though?
Here.
I'm gonna queue for. I'll be like, I'm going to play Eevee this game, and then I'm going to get Fish Market because it's the second most popular map, and I'll be like, well, really don't want to.
I feel like I just heard Kanga cry because they heard Fish Market again. That's just not their favorite map. Especially given the history on it as of late. They like going there. Doesn't treat them very well when they go there, but we're looking more towards, again, this first set is interesting as well. You noted, Frozen Guard maybe, or Fish noted Frozen Guard. You noted Jag Falls maybe not being good for Eevee. We'll see how many of those make it through, because we do have the map bans coming up for you. Surprise, surprise, Splitstone Quarry, Serpent Beach. I bet the next one's going to be Ascension Peak from NIP, and then some flavor Shattered Desert there coming in from Virtus.Pro. Anything really standing out of that for you?
I mean, I'm surprised that NIP have actually moved away from the Warder's Gate ban, because that was their thing for the longest time. They wanted to ban that, but they must be comfortable on it. We can see where else they might be feeling comfortable. Jaguar Falls is the first pick. Actually, this is from VP too, right? This is VP's first pick, so they're going to that map that I thought would favor NIP, but clearly VP has something in mind.
Well, that's surprising to see what is going to be banned. It's not surprising to see that the first one is Pip, just because, again, history on this map is always there for NIP. And then you get the other 3 takes, Bakoa, Atlas, and Torvald, which leaves a little bit of flavor open.
That's a new NIP. That's the Koa Atlas. I mean, banning power tanks is not something they've been doing. They've been leaving them open. That was kind of their MO for the longest time, and they've shifted away from it. So this is a good sign, at least on their side for me, because that means that they're looking at what VP they think will bring, and they want to do something different instead of just forcing their meta every single game.
Yeah. So we'll have to see what route VP wants to go. Khan and Ashe have been kind of the premier off tanks. Once you get rid of some of the others, Ashe is kind of
I can get us out of here
in
alive.
precedent.
Stay close
where
and
people want
follow
to pick
my
her.
lead.
So it's not surprising to see her come in as first pick. What is it that she brings us is just better than, like, you don't want Barrick, you don't want Inara, you don't want Khan over her?
Just crazy aggression. The ultimate is very influential, especially if you get Khan or get rid of Khan. No off tank can cross distance the way that she does that quickly. Just that dash, and especially if you hit someone, it ends with damage, it ends with knockback. You can combo that into an ultimate. At this level, she just has a lot of pressure she can bring, and on this map, which has so many small little rooms, she can shoot around corners, so you can be hiding, and she's one of the only tanks that can be continuing that pressure, continuing to apply Cauterize when you're trying to run away.
I think that's the key. That Cauterize, if you cannot cleanse it, your support's going to rip their hair out. And unfortunately, that means Bird right now. I think, fortunately, most of the time he wears a hat, so maybe he's not going straight for the hair. Maybe it's some other little tick that we don't know about. Well, we'll have to find out. Barrick going to be locked in, probably one of the best, not probably, is one of the best, if not the best point tank in the game right now in terms of survivability, healing on turret, has nice shields.
I will fight
and they
to
get
protect
Willow,
the sanctity
and this
of
is
the
where
wild.
I want to go. You don't get your Pip, but you get presumably
bring
Fish
an
on Willow.
end to the
Are you just as happy?
darkness.
It would probably be, I mean, it's going to be Alex or a Tenor
It's so
on the Willow.
Yeah, you're right. I'm thinking of the wrong team.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not sure which one of them is going to play it, though.
But that's the thing.
Because either of them, I think, could.
Very irritating about NIP is that they do. Yeah, they have those two players that will flex around. Alex may be able to bring it. Tenor also able to bring it. And for all we know, it's going to be a triple DPS, and we could maybe even see Bonker bring it or Diggy bring it. Like, I mean, that's the other thing to think about. Actually, it's been a while since we mentioned it, but Diggy was a blaster for a long time. I would still say one of my favorite Bomb Kings I've ever seen played. And so you have to knock it down. They just have so much, but it looks like they're hovering the con. And if that does come through, that's more than likely going to be his pick.
Yeah, and it's going to be a double tank, which is pretty standard for this map. I think it's hard to pull off triple DPS on Jag sometimes. It's just difficult to get the setup without the teams being able to kite away from you. I liked VP's draft so far. Inara into the Willow is going to be a little bit rough, but they did leave both of their DPS picks up until now. They could end up with like a Mave if they want something that can punish the Willow or play aggressive on the side. And if they go Mave, I wouldn't be shocked to see like a Cassie or any other consistent backline to pair with it.
So here's the super solid question for you. You have a Nara Furia in this composition. Willow is kind of known for countering quite literally that style of play.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're not guessing. There's no Solar Blessing involved here, right? This cannot be Solar Blessing, or you're just playing into that Willow too hard.
I think the value from the beams is almost too high right now with the way you can spam it on this map. And Cassie will be the lock for VP, paired with a different flanker than I thought, though, going to be Eevee. Not too surprising, I guess, giving it to Fish. It is playable on this map. I think it's a little worse than some of the other flanks, but I think any Eevee play is going to be good in Fishiko's hands.
I think that's probably the thing. I mean, even on his given map of Frozen Guard as instead of play like a pro, he'd still make it look good, and I think we've seen him make it look good on that map. So if he says that that's her weakest map and it's still that frightening, then you still have to keep it open here. And that's going to be able to finalize Virtus.Pro's draft arrays. I mean, maybe a two-trick. We see a lot of Leon and Cassie from him, but it's going to be solid. They lock in the Drogas. You're making a little bit of a face.
It's a very point-centric comp. They're going to be purely focusing on spamming that point, and I think VP are going to recognize this. They have an Ashe Eevee Cassie to play everywhere else on the map, so maybe, I think it could be a misstep from NIP, but it really depends on how flexible VP are going to be on this map.
I think my favorite thing to watch, again, it's going to be the battle between the tanks. Inara versus Barrick. Dosips versus Bonker will be interesting. Just as interesting as Cruncy versus Diggy. And, well, Fishy versus whoever they end up throwing onto the Willow, or whoever they throw on the Drogos. I'm going to put my money on Alex on Drogos because I feel like I've seen that combo a little more often, but it's weird that you can go double blaster when blasters are usually the harder to pick in this comp and have it work for them. But hey, that's the drafts lock in here for Virtus.Pro and for NIP. We've got game one coming to you, and before we get there, we're going to go down to Dave and Nick casting this set.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Cannot wait to get into this one. This is the Gauntlet week, Nick. We got the first and second seeds in play both days. Virtus.Pro with the potential to upset some and kind of looking to return maybe to some of their old form. It's going to be so much fun. I mean, Gormizer was trying to highlight some of the matchups in this specific one. Bonker and Dosups on the opposite side. I can't pick any of them. I'm excited to watch all of these guys. All these guys go up against one another.
It definitely feels like Virtus.Pro got the more Virtus.Pro-y draft. Like these are much more comfortable picks for them, but this is clearly a strategy up the sleeve for NIP. Right. This is something that we expect them to be picking very deliberately for a purpose. It could be just they want to melt this point down as fast as possible. Dead zone and just rip the Sonar to pieces with Double Blaster. They have a lot of ways to go. Double shielding could prove to be a little bit of a problem for them in the later game. How they play this one is definitely going to be something to watch.
I mean, you give Fishy, Eevee on that other side. I mean, the play like a pro. I mean, couldn't have been more perfect that we watched that and then they immediately give it to him. It's going to be fun. I mean, they kind of touched on it on the desk, though. But, I mean, you have two guys in Crunty and Erase who, I mean, in their one matchup against NIP in the last couple of months, beat them at MSI. And now they're back here on Virtus.Pro looking to do it again. And, NIP looking not really super unbeatable against Envy specifically here in this case. So, I mean, if there's any team that can do it, this Virtus.Pro team technically at 8-9. That's the sneakiest 8-9, I think, that you could possibly have.
If there was ever a time to strike at the top two seeds in the Premier League, it's probably this week. Navi make their big roster change. You've got NIP just coming off of a loss, but fairly resilient, I think NIP have shown themselves to be. Same with Navi. I mean, that's pretty much the core of their story, the core of the character of that team is just they are resilient. They lost for a long time and when that team was first conceived, but the losses definitely shaped them into the winners that they are now.
I mean, this is a big week for Virtus.Pro, not only for NIP and Navi. I mean, trying to return back to kind of that mid-first split form for NIP and Navi, trying to work out the kinks with Nino on their side. Of course, a very good player. And, we'll dive into this more in the second matchup. But if you're looking at Navi specifically, I mean, Ninu is a phenomenal player, but what you're really losing on that side, I think, is the instant connection that someone like a Phoenix and Creatives had with one another. So it's not like the technicality, like the mobility, the aim, all that. I don't think that there's a huge drop-off there for Navi. But still a lot to prove. I mean, this is going to be a big week for both of these teams. But honestly, looking at Virtus.Pro, I'm excited to see where they stand after this week because, I mean, this is kind of trial by fire. You've had a few games up to this point where you've been able to perform. But, going against NIP and then immediately Navi the next day, this is going to be really telling about where they stand, still chasing those top 4 auto-qualifying seeds. And, I mean, it's a team that if they play how they have been, I think they could do it.
Absolutely, man. These are both really solid teams. Heat checking for Virtus.Pro, though. They've been on nothing but an upswing at this point. To dive back into their drafts a little bit, the more I think about it, I start to see this Virtus.Pro draft struggle, with these higher flying characters on Jaguar Falls. There's this dynamic of fighting inside versus fighting outside. So where these fights take place, and it's not random, it's up to these teams and really the frontliners to sort of dictate where people are, push certain zones, and make these fights happen where is advantageous for their teams. Now, if you're on Virtus.Pro, you want these fights to happen indoors if possible. Fishy's going to have a lot on his plate, I think, to be able to fly around. He's going to be flying around. He's going to be blinking up. He's going to be challenging these Fae flights. He's going to be challenging these Drogoses in the air. He plays these characters. He knows how they like to move, where they like to position, how they like to float above on Jaguar Falls. So he's going to have to find himself in a position to hopefully make those connections. And we talk about it a lot. EV players sort of butter their bread with those mid-range shots being their own setup.
I mean, if you look at it from the opposite side, do you feel like Double Blaster may be a hindrance for NIP? Is that I mean, they're a team that has almost unlimited flexibility, but does Double Blaster maybe have some shortcomings into what Virtus.Pro drafted?
I think if they can keep the fight pretty centric and keep their backliners without having a ton of pressure on them, then they'll be in a good position. Nobody can stand on the point when there's a Drogos and there's a Willow just beating down on it. So even though it's Inara, even though it's Dosups, he's going to have to be careful. He's going to have to worry about Dragon Punches. He's going to have to worry about dead zones, playing around all these different cooldowns. Dosups is going to have to be big brain today and really paying attention. Maybe even to have Vex like paying attention to certain cooldowns and playing around those as well is something to look out for. Every little thing is going to have to be squeezed out of their compositions, really for either team, I think, to get the win. These are both of the level where if you're making even tiny little mistakes, even if you're playing good but not really squeezing,
right,
you know, min-maxing out of your characters, you're probably going to run into some trouble and some advantages that your team is going to be able to miss out on.
I kind of want to hone in on the erase, and then it's hard to really pick, I think, on the opposite side, the NIP side, who he's really going toe-to-toe with, because you'll have Bittner on the direct damage, you'll have Alex on the direct damage. In this case, they're both on blasters. I mean, at MSI, I mean, it almost answers itself, but he was able to keep pace and even do more than what some of the damage dealers on the NIP side were doing throughout that tournament. Do you think maybe he can bring some more of that today? I know it's a new environment for him, but do you think that you've seen enough out of Erase in these first few weeks of Virtus.Pro matches that he can kind of keep pace with the all-star team that is NIP?
Yeah, I'm pretty sold on him being, man, pretty collected, I think, as a player, as a person. He doesn't seem like he's too worried about, you know, too much of the pressure that's being put on him, especially at that MSI. I think that's really, if there was a time to crack, it would have been then. Yeah. I think at this point, we're heading towards the midpoint of our phase, so he's probably getting into a rhythm by now, feeling more comfortable. You play in the same couple of booths every single game day, so I think Erase is going to be in a good spot, and I think any opportunities handed to him, he's not going to hesitate to seize.
And I know that if we're looking at kind of the new additions to Virtus.Pro, you saw how much beating NIP meant to Cruncy at the MSI, standing up, giving him the clap across the way. I mean, it's a guy who's played with some of these guys on the opposite side of the booth. So, I mean, as important of a matchup as it is, I mean, it's a little extra now today going up against him the second time. I mean, he was able to do it at MSI. He wants to prove that now on a continual basis he's able to beat these guys. And it's something only two teams have been able to do. Envy's done it twice, and it was Na'Vi who did it towards the end of that first split. Virtus.Pro could be the third team, I guess, technically Penta beat NIP at MSI, but Virtus.Pro looking to kind of add themselves into that category. Big game here for Cruncy, especially going up against DiggyDog, one of the best off-tanks in this league.
Yeah, when you look at NIP, they've been at the top for so long at this point. 2 13-week phases with MSI and bye weeks and weeks in between, you know, buffering the phases to MSI. You got to talk about getting hot at the right time as well for NIP. They've been up there for so long. And even in Paladins, man, I mean, people have their downswings. People get comfortable, complacent. Not to say that's happening to NIP at the moment, but it's still a long way to go to the end of this phase, and an even longer way to go to get to the hardware at the end of HRX that I'm sure a lot of these guys have their eyes set on. Bird hasn't had one of those rings since the very first invitational we had.
That's right. I mean, and now, I mean, we touch on this for the console and minor league this week, but as of the end of this week, I mean, we'll be, you know, a third of the way there. We're kind of on that downhill swoop, or I guess uphill swoop, everything building up. Without further ado, though, jumping into it, Virtus.Pro NIP. VP snag point number 1 in this one. Getting right into the action. So striking first already, Virtus.Pro, you can see Inara, Dosups already on the board with a 5 streak. Cruncy and Vex continuing some of that offensive aggression.
Yeah, and I like to talk about, like, you know, your kind of threshold of execution with certain compositions. I feel like there's a lot more timelines in which things go well for Virtus.Pro, because, again, these are very comfortable picks for them. This is a more, I guess, what you consider standard composition. NIP, just like really Virtus.Pro, lacking hit scan, and Ninja Pyjamas absolutely lacking hit scan as well. Playing this double blaster, Tanner, most flexible player in the league at the moment. Fishy, no problem challenging some of these floating characters deep in their own backline.
Cruncy a little bit too far forward there. Bonker's gonna find him. Seismic crash rains down, stuns up a couple there for Dosups. Is there follow-up? Bonker gets cleaned up by Vex, having himself a game already. Dodge roll out from Erase, tries to avoid too much of that splash damage from the Dragon flying high above. Pacheco continuing his high-paced play into the ice block. One more shot will do it. Gets the heal, not enough as DiggyDog cleans up that one. The line seems to be drawn in the sand here. Virtus.Pro are going to fold back. NIP 5 ultimate strong. Virtus.Pro consider it 3, soon to be 4 with the scout. Good defensive hold, though, from the Ninjas.
You'd have thought Fishy would have been able to make it out of that one, too. Gets a good heal from Vex, but it's not enough. Here come the first wave of ultimates. Ice Storm running. Wow, a lot of things are flying.
And And they want to go. This is their go button for Virtus.Pro on the opposite side. Assert dominance. Pacheco erased. Both have kills on the board. No more front line now for NIP. Cruncy is the only one who's been lost from Virtus.Pro here, and Alex is in such a bad spot.
Wow.
Good pullback there from Bittner. A double kill from the Willow. May have just saved it, but it's not enough, and Virtus.Pro off to a 2-0 start.
I mean, that's everybody. Basically everyone except 2 people dying in that hell of a team fight. A lot of ultimates spent. Here are the talents. Missed just a little bit of that first round, but to catch caught up, I think everything here is pretty much standard. What you would kind of expect to see there. Battering ram, maybe some opportunity change. Big game as well. Everything else, very, very standard. Faith Flight spent, time and space spent, overpower spent, assert dominance, ice storm, as well as Inflame, all used. But Inflame already back to 44%. Shout outs to Vex.
Yep.
He's getting it done in these fights.
Having himself a game so far. I mean, between him and Dosups on the opposite side. A couple of the only ones to really stay alive there towards the end. Vex with the double kill on the Furia. Make it 6-0-2 now for the Furia. Only Cruncy
What the hell?
is the one who has a head-scratching
happening?
a question mark of a slash line here. Virtus.Pro playing on another planet here. I mean,
Cruncy
wow.
walked so Vex could run, or I guess fly in this case. He's got the wings spread wide. 6-0 is the support. Another seismic crash. Not sure where that one was headed. Comeback mechanic enabled for NIP. Nobody with too big of a lead to speak of yet on the objective.
Yeah, no more bonker means Virtus.Pro are going to be free and clear. Just kind of hang out in the middle there. Alex is going to get the Dragon Punch ready to go. He's in behind Virtus.Pro here. The wall's not enough to block him off from Cruncy. Dosups, though, is going to get the kill on Alex, and he raises still alive. The Cassie bolts are ringing true here. Diggy Dog falls, Bird falls. Alex is down as well. The bowling ball gets a little bit of shielding now as Bonker rejoins this fight, but he's kind of alone. Nobody is left to help him, and Flame just to put the cap on it. And all they were able to get is 58% with the fast cap he raise. Drops towards the end of that fight, 75% for VP.
A single cooldown for Bonker to buy any time. We look at Dosups. He's out here getting position for the wall. He's going to wall
96.
and then continue to zone. He puts his teammate at his back, saying he's not afraid to die for the zone. Everybody tries to ignore him for the most part. Such a commanding position for Virtus.Pro. Not a hit scam, but a good Cassie, man. She can really track down these flying champions with ease.
This is a scary-looking Virtus.Pro roster right now. Seems that if there's one little tumble in a fight, somebody might lose their life. The rest of Virtus.Pro are able to step to the side, fill that gap. NIP looking for their first point in this game, down 3-0. One more point. Virtus.Pro will certainly take it. These intermittent trades are just going to decide how far forward it's maybe able to go. Alex has just not been able to get comfortable this game. Sure, he adds a kill there, but they've dealt with his Drogos just fine.
I will say, the one thing that I'm liking from NIP right now is that despite how they are getting a little bit rolled at the moment, it does not feel like they're giving up. They are still playing aggressive. They are still playing their game, and they are still playing the way that they would theoretically need to be playing if they want to win this game. I don't know if it's enough to bring it back at this juncture.
Dosups.
But, I mean, both blasters not afraid to pass half court when the time calls for it. Tenor and Alex are doing their job as best they can without any momentum.
Give me that 18 streak on the Inara. Dosups, unofficial triple, official double in that last fight. Got 3 across the board.
Let's watch a little Doe. Let's see what he's doing. Let's get inside the mind of the big brain Inara player. He's had great crashes.
Yep.
I think that one is there exclusively to peel for Pacheco.
Yep.
Doesn't end up needing it, but he wants to hedge his bets.
They might just be able to end this game, especially if they stagger off the back end of these kills. Bittner is gone for 10 more seconds. They're going to stagger out Alex. They're going to stagger out Bonker, the payload. Still a long way to go. 20 streak, 9-0-11 for the Inara. No seismic crash. You do have assert dominance. Could lock up the back line as it rounds this final corner.
Well, this is good for at least Arrays and Cruncy. They're very used to playing with Ovum, a guy who's always, 9-0, 10-0 on these Inaras. Dragon Punch trying to shut it down. Cruncy tried to get assert dominance off, but couldn't.
Yeah, it's a great target there. Get rid of the one key ultimate. Not that they knew, but it is good. The rest of the kills, Pacheco still alive. Maybe just needs 1 or 2 more shots onto Bittner here, in this case into the ice block. Knows there's going to be some damage returned in onto him. 9 seconds left. Virtus.Pro pushed back. It looks like NIP will be able to seal up their first point.
The dust finally settling. Dosups being handed his first death on Inara against 2 blasters. The guy we were saying might have some trouble against this composition if he's left on an island for too long, playing against Blast Flower, playing against Dead Zone, Dragon Punch, Salvo Spits. It would have been too much, but Dosips, rather than sit idly by, I love that reaction too. He sees an Ashe winding up a shoulder bash and immediately is lining up the wall to block it. Realizes then it's his teammate and doesn't want to do that. But the reaction is there. He's going to have to play snappy today for sure. Like we were mentioning, a lot of cooldowns to play, a lot of paper matchups that are going to be tough for him. But he's not stood idly by and been torn apart by rockets and explosions. He's got in the faces of his opponents, made them uncomfortable, walled them off, separated his team from danger, and laid his own life on the line instead, of which has paid off 10 times to 1.
True.
So that's pretty good.
I'll take those odds any day of the week. Easy raise, though, is going to start this one off with a little bit of extra vision for his team into the dome shield. Fasheko still wants to get aggressive. Bonker taking so much damage. Fasheko out of the ice block, into the shot. Diggy Dog and Bittner, though, are trying to keep things evil here.
Ooh.
Or even, I should say, a nice shot there from Bittner to turn it around. Dosup's in the back line. And NIP, they're not out of this one yet. Some good aggression puts them in control of this mid.
That was just a world-class read from Tenor. I mean, no other way to slice that. Doe takes a ton of damage, tanking under the dome shield, allowing Fish to get in there on Bonker. Survives it all, but NIP still, again, they are not out of this one. They're not playing like they're down 3-1. They're not playing like they've been getting pretty rolled this game. Nicely timed there from both Blaster players from NIP.
There's your Fae Flight, paying off in dividends. Get rid of Vex right off the bat. Diggy Dong and Bittner are going to get onto the board. Dragon Punch going to cancel that one out. Realizes the good old-fashioned gun's going to do it better. NIP going to capture their second point. Get this payload moving for maybe number 3.
My, oh my. So what went right for NIP there? You got to kind of break it down. You got to look first at, what we saw on screen was Dosips getting in there, tanking in dark. Really, I think, well against under the dome shield, buying a lot of time. Fish's Ice Storm went out under there. Somehow, Tenor's managed to stay 16 and 6 above it all. I think he was a pretty critical player to watch in that last fight. What he was doing, what he was up to, probably had a decent amount of what got them back in there. Bonker just going toe-to-toe with the Inara. And again, 2 and 10, yeah, but he's probably not too worried about it. They've done such a good job at just not playing like they're down, not playing defeated.
Bonker, tough scoreline. 14 streak burning away for Bittner. I mean, after a tough start from him, really come back into this game, help Ninjas in Pyjamas have a good opportunity to tie it here. Some ultimates for NIP starting to roll. Virtus.Pro as well, going to charge some of that up. We'll hope to seal it up on the next mid. Getting rid of Fasheko is awesome there from Bittner. Maybe just utilizing 1 or 2 ultimates, might not even need to. Crunty's caught off in a corner here. Alex is able to actually get out alive. He's been much more comfortable towards the last end of this game. Vex shoots a little bit up into the air. That's almost certainly going to roll through here for NIP. They're wiping Virtus.Pro, and wouldn't you know it, we're tied up at 3.
Just let that sink in for a second. It is now 3-3.
It was 3-0.
It felt like NIP were just losing for so long, and just like that, the game of Paladins turns back around. 16 and 6 at the start of this round.
Wow.
Young Tenor has done everything he can to keep the boys in it. The front lines on his squad have definitely been dealing with some stuff, but again, I guess they're not overly dependent on their front lines because they just control all of the airspace on this map. So you haven't seen a lot of that grouping up behind Diggy or, helping out Bonker. Most of it, you group up with that off tank, you play off of Khan's pressure and space, but they fly, man. They don't really need that. Time and space, goes fishing, comes up dry.
Crunty at 2 and 11 is the only one on Virtus.Pro who seems to be having a tough game here. Ultimates start to fly. Assert dominance finds some good value right into the seismic crash, but the Dragon Punch is the only one that finds itself a kill. But losing Bird could be bad here for NIP, but the overpower right into Crunty here gets him out of the assert dominance. In this case, Fasheko in, Fasheko out. He has the inflame at his back, but a 20 streak burning away for Bittner. They're going to zone out Virtus.Pro here and look to seal up game number 1.
Finds the first shot. Duel starting between 2 of the old Fnatic DPS teammates, Tenor and Bittner. Tenor and Fasheko, excuse me. Clicking in now. That 1v1 never really went anywhere. 60% on the objective for NIP. Out of ultimates, out of reach. Nobody over half right now, so this is going to be a base kit fight to decide the game.
Trying to brawl it down, losing Dose Up, such an integral factor of what Virtus.Pro are doing early on in this game. Now it's going to be down to Cruncy to stay alive, but there's just too much aggression going into the backline here. Virtus.Pro trying to find anything at 99%, though. Nobody's in range to get the touch. And what a comeback there from NIP, from 3-0 down to 4-3. Put a 1 in the win column for these boys. This is going to be a fun set.
That one definitely stings. You were totally in control of that one. Momentum was rolling, rolling, rolling. It wasn't until that fight. And I would love to go back and watch that again with the perspective of somebody who wasn't in that mess of that dark room. It was a dome shield with a crash and an ice, and it was just way too much going on in that room. Outside of the room is kind of, I think, where the fight started to tip. But that was the fight, that 3-1 point fight when NIP, they managed to turn it around somehow. And that was pretty much it. Momentum is, it can give and it can take before we know it. 45 seconds, 50 seconds, we're back to 3-3.
I mean, Bittner seemingly will give you a little bit and then suddenly start to pop off there towards the end. Ends the game on a 20-something streak, and what a game one it was. NIP turn around a 3-0 deficit and make it a 4-3 win. It's going to be a fun one. Stick around for game number 2.
iNap, powering the control room for the Paladins Premier League.
Well, Jag Falls is in the books, and NIP fight back from a pretty distinct deficit. I was telling you, Kresnik, that it is essentially like there was a window that was open for Virtus.Pro. They're about to climb in, and NIP just slammed it shut on their fingers to make sure they couldn't close it out and find themselves a 4-0.
Yeah, I mean, as the game went on, I think the ultimates were just too much for VP to overcome. Dragon Punch used really effectively, I feel. Even Alex canceling it a lot of the time to save value if he realized that it wasn't going to get a good pick. Fae Flight really hard to deal with. We saw in that one mid where Tenor was just spamming down on Vex, no way out. So great usage, I think, of the ultimates by NIP to turn that game around from an almost guaranteed loss.
Yeah, I think a lot of credit, honestly, early on for Virtus.Pro tends to go to Doseps.
Oh, yeah.
You had pointed out that beforehand I had said that he was the weakest link of the 5 on there. And if that's the way the weakest link is going to play, I take that every day. Unfortunately for them, it wasn't actually him who was really being bullied this game. It did end up kind of going more onto Cruncy, who we highlighted heavily beforehand, but he just did not quite hit the marks during that. He was just getting zoned out, and like you said, NIP was just controlling him.
They kited him out really effectively. I mean, both blasters were just able to stay far enough away, and looking at the damage stats, they were able to stay far enough away and lay in all the DPS they needed to. Almost 6 digits for both blasters on NIP. Tanks, respectable damage-wise, but Dosup's out damaging both of them on VP side.
I mean, it's pretty impressive. Anara doing 70,000 damage, period, is impressive. But to have Anara also out-damage Barrick is, I think, another thing. But then when you look at the slash lines, I think you start to see a little bit of a story. Well, one is the 2, 13, and 9 Ashe. Cruncy, again, not being able to, I think, do everything he wanted to. And then if you keep scrolling your eyes all the way to the bottom, there should be a number that catches your eye. It's the 21, 6, and 10 Willow here. Bittner was just bonkers this game. And not to say that he was bonkers, but he was really good.
Yeah, I mean, they get rid of the pip, but they immediately replace it with another spam-focused, direct spam-focused blaster. I have to say that specifically because Dredge still exists, but he just replaces it immediately with another blaster with a great ultimate, the great ability to just spam down. And one thing I wanted to point out that I noticed was he didn't get any red cards. He did not get Cauterize, he did not get Wrecker, didn't need Wrecker against just a solo Ashe in terms of shielding, but the fact is, that means his team is confident in being able to focus the same targets, either within the dead zone or that someone else is applying Cauterize to. And the utility that gave to Tenor, just making it so hard to kill him. I mean, I think he was on a 20 streak on that last mid-fight. It added a lot to his survivability.
And it's just so crazy to me to think about this. Every other team, when we talk about the DPS, we can specify this is their blaster play, this is direct damage. You can't say that about anyone on NIP because Alex will play the Drogus, he'll also play the Willow. Bittner will play the Pip, he'll play the Willow, he'll play Cassie, they'll both play Leon. Like, they will both just switch to whatever is needed. And that is, I think, one of the things that not only flexibility, but also the resilience they have on these champions is part of what helps them fight back from 3-1 deficits.
Shades of old Na'Vi, right?
Yeah,
well, I
mean,
guess
it's
pre.
very
I say
scary.
old. It's like, but this before this week Navi, right? With
It's
Mutu
the
One
old
Creatives
Navi
BK.
where we haven't seen the new Navi yet.
We're in,
but
a,
it will
we're in a,
happen.
a Navi purgatory kind of right now in terms of what's going to come out later.
Navi purgatory. I don't know where I want that, but I want that as a quote. Maybe just on Twitter so I remember it. In like 3 weeks, someone tag me and just throw Navi purgatory, and that'll depend actually on how they do later. We'll see what purgatory leans for them. But as it is right now, NIP doing more of the same. I will also, I think, throw this one out, just as a fun little stat. Twice so far this phase, VP has chosen Jag Falls. Twice so far this phase, VP has lost Jag Falls. And while I wish I had been smart enough and had the forethought to bring up the last one so I could reference it, this one being a 4-3 means they're really, really solid on it. It's just they keep taking teams there that might have it down a little bit better than them.
They have to be able to close out. I mean, you say that they lost 2, but look at how that game started.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm starting a Jaguar Falls like that and then losing, I'm not feeling too bad. I'm feeling like I can't close it out, but with how clean that was, how like quickly they were able to dominate that game until the very end, it really just, I would still feel confident about it even with a loss like that.
Well, as it happens, though, again, a nice lengthy 4-3. Very, very telling, I think, of what we're going to be able to see for this set. But as it is right now, guys, we are trying to get some of these wires kind of crossed or uncrossed, I guess, as it is in the back. So before we get to game number 2, we're going to make sure everything's smooth sailing. We're going to take a quick break. Well, welcome back. We've been deliberating a little bit here between myself and Kresnik. And originally I was saying if we had it, if the prep time was in, we could have brought out like a wheel and done map roulette and just talked about whatever map was going to be coming through. But we've been sitting around and kind of looking at the history of NIP as well as Virtus.Pro and specifically where win-losses come through. Plus, I would say, I guess, just statistically, the most picked maps right now. And the most pipped maps.
That would be Jaguar Falls. We're already past that.
And that's only NIP that do it when it comes down to it. I guess the Knights might be on that road now that they have Simsy, but we'll have to see how they continue with it. As we start to look forward towards, you know, the ongoing maps, one of the things we wanted to break down was kind of their history and what they've been doing on some of these. So like you said, Jag Falls we've already seen, and they have a pretty good history of winning Jag Falls right now. But the other one that's kind of up there with them is Bright Marsh, and it falls to pretty similar styles.
Yeah, what I was saying earlier was that, I mean, they just won Jag, right? They barely clawed back momentum at the end. Bright Marsh, you said they had a 100% win rate on, right?
I mean,
at least this phase
this
so far.
phase across 3 games. Yes.
And it's a similar map, but the only difference is that it's easier to snowball on Bright Marsh. So to me, I feel like if they wanted to go that angle, if that was the direction they wanted to take, I think it would be smart because they'd be able to just keep this momentum that they just clawed back from VP going.
And I think the interesting thing that we were kind of discussing was that not only is Bright Marsh right now like one of the most picked maps, but it's up there with Jag Falls, again, already played, so we know how that one shakes out. But Stone Keep is, I think, currently actually the number 1 in Phase 2 that has been coming through. And for both of these teams, Stone Keep's a pretty solid map. Out of, again, 3 games, NIP has only lost 1 that they played, but out of the 2 games that they have on it, VP has been able to win all of those. So it gets shakier going into this and looking forward at some of the other maps, because if you go to Bright Marsh, you have a pretty solid success rate, I think, for NIP. You have a pretty solid success rate for VP. So it's, I would say, more even ground, probably similar to what we saw in Jag Falls. But every other map that they're really good on, like Ice Mines, Virtus.Pro showed us last week that they can swing just as hard, if not harder, when they play those.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a 4-0 quite as convincing on ice as I saw 2 weeks ago. That was, those were just absolute dominations. And anytime we get into Ice Mines, it's like I'm getting ready to play Desert Bus sometimes. I'm like, I know I'm in it for the long haul. Just got to stay straight and watch these teams kind of battle until the crazy last fight. But, I mean, VP have shown how quickly they can convert on that map, and I wouldn't be surprised to see NIP stay away from it. But if NIP take this map, that's almost the first place I'd expect VP to go, because not only are they good on that map, but it's also a momentum reset. So if they do get snowballed horribly on Bright Marsh, that would be where I would expect them to go next.
And so it's going to be it's a game of chess between these 2 teams, considering their styles, and specifically something we talked about with the Knights, I assume has happened a little bit with Virtus.Pro as well, where you bring in EU players and you get that moment to just sit down and be like, what is your style about? How is it that you're playing the game that's different than how we're playing the game? And why is that letting teams like NIP and Na'Vi win everything? Or, I guess in some cases, Penta, another European team, being able to come in, right? Like, except for Worlds last year, and a few other tournaments kind of smattered throughout, you have Europe dominating a majority of Paladins, and oftentimes kind of climbing to the top. And so with them picking up Cruncy and Arrays, you can expect maybe to see similar maps that NIP would be strong on come through for them because they've shifted that style.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I've seen from EU teams, at least, is they have a very set game plan. They're I was just waiting to see what that was going to be. Set game plan. Smiling is apparently the game plan for VP going forward. Hopefully,
Chat, if I don't see a wall of smiles, then we're going to have some significant problems.
Click back over to chat to make sure I can see that. But they seem to have a very set game plan moving forward, at least. And sometimes it works when you have the proper execution for it. If you're in the right meta, it can be perfect. But then sometimes you just end up in the wrong place. You know, you're trying to force your strategy in the place it won't work. Penta, they knew what they wanted to do, and it was exactly what they needed to at MSI. They just found the hole in the meta.
Oh, there it is.
There's the wall of smiles.
It took us a little while
We're
for
a little
us to
ahead.
catch up specifically. So seeing that. The other thing I like seeing is, you see some menacing looks, quote unquote menacing, coming between the two teams here. And this is something I love about the league, and I guess maybe just the way it's run, but so in game, you hate each other. You want nothing more than to beat that guy into the ground. Post-game, depending on if you won or lost, you want nothing other than to just not see that guy for a little bit. But for a lot of this, they are very friendly with each other. They're joking around with each other. They recognize, especially after that map, we're very close in skill. We're going to have a lot of fun, so we don't have too much to worry about here.
Yeah, speaking of post-game, I guess banter or even pre-game banter, I remember when I was coaching SSG, I think the first week I was there, so I'm like, nice to be back in this hotel that we're in, and I'm getting dinner, and Bonker walks up to me and goes, are you ready to get destroyed tomorrow? And I'm like, no? Yes? How do you respond to that if I've never met this person before?
Well, yeah. Now you've met him, so at least now you can know maybe what to do if that ever, for some reason, happens again, but you never know when it will. And again, guys, we are currently untangling some wires, getting things set up. As you can see, the players kind of relaxing while they are waiting. And hopefully you can relax a little bit longer for us while we get things fixed up. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, ideally, we'll have map number 2. Well, once again, everyone, I apologize for the delay, but this time I come bearing only the good news. Well, I guess depending on if you're a fan of NIP or VP, it might be bad news, but with the 1-0 up, we're going into game number 2, and depending on how this goes, one team either ties it up, one team continues their lead, so we're just going to go ahead, take a peek at where we're going, and get on into it. And hey, surprise, surprise. Yep. Well, I can't remember how long ago it was, but we were right when we were talking about Brightmarsh, Kresnik.
Yeah, eons ago, we discussed the snowball potential of Brightmarsh, and we have brought back here to talk about it. And again, it's a similar map. It has that snowballing potential. NIP kind of want to reset or continue their momentum through that, and I think it's a smart pick by them.
And I love the adaptation, right? You were actually mentioning it's not often that you see NIP ban Atlas Makoa during Game 1. Yes, my memory is that long, at least, to be able to remember that little nugget of information. And this time around, they don't ban any of the power tanks. They ban the Willow, the Ashe, which are some power picks for Virtus.Pro that are very solid on this map as well. And they get to scoop themselves a Torvald.
It also is part of NIP recognizing when a pick is good regardless of player, right? You just saw Cruncy go 2-13 on Ashe, and they're still willing to say, we know you have the potential to be this good. Maybe you're a little harder to play around on this map, so they get rid of that and end up getting a Torvald that they're pretty happy with, I would say. They're generally very good with that champion. But response by VP, Barrack Fury, and Barrack's been a power pick for NIP as well. You said before they have 11 games on Barrack, and they've won 10 of them?
Yes, so they're 10-11. Or 10-1, sorry, out of 11 games total. They are having 90.91% win rate just this phase on that Barrack. So scooping that away is at least going to make them a little more uncomfortable. But you do also have to, I think, keep in mind what they got instead. That Torvald has been incredibly deadly. Not infallible. They have a couple of losses with him, or one loss at least this phase. But he's been incredibly solid. They go with the Maeve, the Khan, and then we have Cassie and Nara locked on the other side. So Virtus.Pro with 4 locked in. What finishes this draft with a nice little sprinkle on top?
I think they need something that's even better at spamming down shields, because NIP's probably going to end with Leon and play their tenor hard pocket, or they could do the hard pocket Lex. They did that also once Lex kind of shifted into the meta. But I want to see VP. I could see them going like a Vivian or something if they wanted to run double backline. Or, I mean, it's going to be Fish's pick. They could just bring out a flanker like an EV and just play away from the Torv. I'd almost prefer the double backline since they have 2 point tanks, 2 main tanks that want to hold zone. So I'd like Vivian. I wouldn't be surprised to see a flanker so they could have some aggression still left in their composition.
Kresnik, this is what the timer did to me, right? My mindset was fully on, you said breaking down shields, and for some reason my mind went to Dredge, who neither of these teams play, but it is the Bomb King locked in here. It's been a little while since I've been treated to seeing the Bomb King. How do you feel about him?
I think he might have some problems dueling the Maeve because of the DR, but I mean, it's Fish on it, right? If he's able to keep the spam up on the point, they might be able to just win that fight and kind of not deal with the Torvald on the apartment side.
Well, he's just one of the champions that unfortunately it felt like he's faded away from the scene, maybe just disappeared a little bit because the other blasters are just so solid, but we're going to have to see how this one's going to do. Game number 2 finally going to be underway as we go down to the casters.
That's right, we're back. NIP Virtus.Pro Game 2. Lots of fun to be had here. Timers are all by the wayside here as we dive down into it. It's going to be a fun one. We get a little Bomb King on the Virtus.Pro side. I think I agree with the analysis. You know, maybe raises some question marks, but it's also Fasheko on the Bomb King, Nick.
You look at double point frontliner, you look at double backliner as well. Virtus.Pro looking to get rooted on the objective and provide a bit of a safe haven to fall back to as these point front lines tag each other in and out. What can be a fairly easy area to hold on Brightmarsh, especially having Barrack and Inara. You dome shield one door and you wall the other. This becomes a very difficult situation for NIP to crack. But once they do crack it open, this is going to be a give them an inch, take a mile type of composition for NIP. Torvald Lex could just run away with the whole thing.
Beautiful wall there from Dosups, or Cruncy actually on the Inara in this case.
Oh yeah.
It's Dosups then on the Barrack. I guess the Dosups is not necessarily surprising on the Barrack either, but it is Cruncy on the Inara this time around, so a good wall delivers that kill over to Fasheko's side of things. 30% for Virtus.Pro on the backside. Some good early aggression. One final plug shot. It was actually the daggers from Alex on a Dosups that cleaned up the Barrack. But the shots were good. Now with Torvald bubble, Bittner's going to look to get aggressive. Drops off the Bomb King, just runs him down. Virtus.Pro trapped in the backside. And they're putting themselves in a good position for point number 1.
What a highlight reel. This is it, baby. This is the inch. And now we are seeing the mile being ripped out of the cold, dead hands of Virtus.Pro. We're seeing 1,300 damage headshots. We are seeing the Law connecting on the frontliners.
Alrighty.
24,000 damage in 2 minutes, minus 40 seconds of pre-game load-in time. Tenor is absolutely commanding Brightmarsh.
There's something funny about that overpower as well. Let me pull you all the way over here and then launch you immediately back off the map. Cruncy is no more here. One early kill from Fasheko is all Virtus.Pro have to hang their hat on here. Bittner gets the Astro Mark, gets himself a little Torvald bubble as well. Gets himself some good damage in this one, going toe-to-toe with the Bomb King here. He's going to win that one 10 times out of 10, especially when he has some help from Alex on the backside. Here's the damage potential of this Lex. Gets stunned up there, forced out. Ends up getting some damage, a little bit of help for a kill onto Vex as well. Virtus.Pro completely swept here. Dosups just trying to stall out this payload while his teammates respawn. And the mile is now pushing 2, maybe even 3 as his payload rounds that final corner.
Torvald Lex was the flavor of week 1 for NIP. With the rework to the guns, the new fresh talent. It looked like it might be a staple of what we might be seeing in Phase 2. It was not. So far, NIP is really the only team to really take this one in stride. The Law connects onto Dosups, or Cruncy, excuse me, but only for 600 damage, and the slow that you get when you're above the threshold.
Some good shots from Raze as well. A nice double kill. The Cassie is going to need to be firing on all cylinders if you're going to weather the Lex Maeve on the opposite side here. Good defense from Virtus.Pro as NIP look to regroup. They have 5 ultimates ready. Plenty of crowd control to clip some of what NIP are bringing there.
Yeah.
They will have overpower as well. Only 1 resilience, and it is on Bonker this time around.
Don't get me wrong, we've been seeing NIP from exactly where they want to be playing from so far this game. There is weaknesses to be highlighted with their composition. If this game slows down a little bit, they don't really have anything to control the map. They don't really have anything to zone or force fights to happen in certain locations, you know what I mean? Like, if NIP get put on the back foot, which we kind of saw at the very, very start of this game with a nice wall from Crunchy, things got a little sticky for NIP.
Actually not even able to get the kill on to Dosups. Finally they do. It's a 2-for-2 trade here. Bittner's kept pace with his 20k damage every 2 minutes here. Fasheko, nice double kill there from the Bomb King. Likely ends this one. Maybe one more on the Genos. Didn't quite see him tucked behind there as Bird. That's a good defense there from Virtus.Pro, considering the onslaught that NIP brought to start the game. A lot of it on the back of this guy here, Bittner. You always have to throw the asterisk of Torvald and Genos onto it, but he certainly makes them pay.
Absolutely. It's only enough to set him up. Somebody had to find the connection. Somebody had to get him home. Sliding Law there onto Inara. One of the things she can't really stop. Only break line of sight of it. The damage reduction is not going to save you. It's all about that HP threshold.
Yep.
A couple of 1,300 damage headshots so far in this game. It's been fun to watch some of the bigger numbers that you could possibly see with Luminary, the Field Study, as well as Death Hastens, just providing a bit more base damage for Lex to scale off of. The Field Study is getting hit with the old Nerf hammer in the next patch. This will be the last. Probably, if this is what it takes to barely make this combo viable with one team in the league, this could very well be the last Lex game that we see.
So watch it. Drink it all in.
Yes,
Whoa, he
yes.
still got it in flame. Into the King Bomb, into the Seismic Crash. Stunned up a couple. Alex finds the first kill here. It looks like NIP might be able to back off without losing too many. Bonker, though, goes down. No more Field Study for Bittner now. Good daggers, though. Maybe pull this one back just a little bit. Alex not able to stay alive under the ever-present threat of Dosups here. In this case, NIP, though, fighting from the point. Is Bittner still alive, looking for a double kill? Maybe makes it 3 into the backside of Dosups as he pulls back. Good Void Grip onto Erase. Doesn't deliver guaranteed shots for Bittner, but he wants to keep fighting. Now has a little bit of extra move speed. And a long, tumultuous fight ends up in favor of the Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Very good timings of these bubbles as well. You have to commend Bonker. It's not as easy as just pressing Q off of cooldown. He needs to be able to almost read Tenor's mind, his movements, his actions, to figure out when is the bubble most optimal to get this guy as close to 3 seconds of actual damage amp in his fight as possible. People lining up for
Through time
Bird
and
right
space.
now. He wants it, baby.
Yeah,
He gonna get it.
Gets one, a little damage onto 2. That's a shot from Bird. Could see it from a mile away, and NIP are going to take that as their cue to get involved in this one. Alex picks up a double kill and a good pinch there from NIP. Dosups garnering a little bit of percentage here, but just delaying out NIP from what they're able to gather. Good fight, all set up by good positioning and a great through time and space, but Dosups actually delays just enough for Virtus.Pro to have a second chance at getting in, finding themselves a touch here, and Overpower is going to get rid of Fasheko, so a 5v4 fight, make it a 5v3, a double kill for Diggy Dog. Seals up this point here, and NIP are going to be pushing for number 3.
Kind of a cool moment to highlight Diggy Dog's target selection there. Not always do you need to hit a frontliner. It goes for Dragon Punch as well. Sometimes, if a frontliner's left on the island, they're not super difficult to deal with. And Nara's not killing one. She doesn't really pose any threats. She's just buying more time than like a Bomb King would. Sure. Get rid of that Bomb King, suddenly the threat of lethality is gone. Everybody's playing a little bit more comfortable. Everybody's playing a little bit more confident. We know Bittner needs that. If he has 1-2 sources of damage amp on top of the fact that all of the Apex Predators of the enemy team are respawning, I mean, he just gets to run wild.
There seems to be about a 1 mile stretch of grass from the mid-fight to over here, because we're continuing with the 1 inch for 1 mile quip. NIP have gladly taken that every time. This is where they stalled out last time. Minute and a half left here. Some even trades went in favor of Virtus.Pro because of the respawn proximity on the last offensive attempt from NIP.
Yeah.
5 ultimate strong for Virtus.Pro. Good damage from the Bomb King here, forcing back the Ninjas. Up and over goes the Grumpy Bomb. King Bomb ready to rock and roll.
Fade him out. This is I kind of bring this up on Stone Keep sometimes, where this is like, it's going to be kind of tough for NIP to get a pick at this point, right? If everybody's sitting super safe in the back line, maybe in the case of, you know, arrays on Cassie up on the high ground, there's nowhere to flank. I mean, Alex, if he wanted to take that secret swamp shortcut, he would have to burn a lot of his cooldowns just to get there, and so much of what Maeve brings to the table is those cooldowns, so showing up to the fight, essentially with all of your money spent, isn't the best option.
Diggy pulls him back. That's an execute from Bittner onto Cruncy. This might be the key. This might be the cue for NIP to start getting aggressive here. We'll have Cruncy back here in about 5 seconds. No kills cascading from the back end of that. Dosups, though, has to burn the bowling ball. The cooldown double use here. Bird finds that kill. Now moving forward. Now it's down to Cruncy to play frontline, to play contest. Through time and space just to the right. This time around from Bird. Alex onto Pacheco here. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Another kill, though, for Bird in this fight. Make it 2 now for the healer. That's all they need. Hyper Beam just to seal this one up, and NIP go up 3-1.
Alex kind of playing well in the shadow of Tenor, and don't get me wrong, you know, he might not be getting the bubbles. He's still going to get a mark every once in a while, of course. But I think part of that, look at everyone is just so focused. Where is Tenor? You know, they're diving in on him in this tour ball, trying to shut that down. If Alex is smart, and he is, he's going to utilize the fact that so many eyes are not on him to move in silence, to dagger people in the back of the head, which is kind of the theme of what we were seeing in that clip. And in the shadow, in all of the noise and the chaos, Alex has managed to just about keep pace with Tenor anyway.
It's a dream. It's a dream for a Maeve. I mean, if nobody's going to be paying attention to me, everyone's going to be paying attention to the 110,000 damage of Bittner in this case. I'll gladly wrap around, find myself 13 kills and only 3 deaths around the back line. More of the same would net them game number 2 here. Coming out of the gates hot, not losing too much momentum. Overpower does connect. Cruncy unfortunately catches another one this time. Pacheco last time. Frontliner is the flavor of the day for Diggy Dog this time around. Doing his best job playing frontliner. Pacheco has not really had a great time in this game either, and it's because of that. Bittner gets a little damage amp, forces him down. Alex playing frontline duties just for a little bit. Virtus.Pro has 5 now forced back. No kills just yet on the back end of it. But NIP firmly in control of the positioning.
Wow, shrugging off that stump for the most part. M-Flame popped off. And Virtus.Pro coming in with a vengeance. A lot of damage, a lot of movement speed. Everything's starting to get spent. They just need to win one little fight here.
Yep.
The comeback mechanic will do the rest.
Yeah, that'll do it. Erase doing his best MSI impression. Finds a triple kill on NIP. Might just seal up point number 2 here. Fast cap almost certainly will do it. NIP are going to have to go waiting for one more mid-fight to maybe seal up this game. Virtus.Pro trying to tie it up. That's what we saw in game number 1. VP up 3-0, ended up losing 4-3. NIP now up 3-1, trying to avoid the same fate. Although I guess they would be happy with their same fate from game number 1 if they're able to seal up the next mid. Pacheco on this Bomb King. Anything you've noticed here? I mean, he's had kind of a quiet start to this.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to play into this amount of, you know, a character being pocketed. You just have to be so careful when you take these ones. And before the moment's too far gone, I just want to touch on Diggy Dog. Yeah. He's hit every overpower this game so far, and the value of that can't be understated, because despite NIP being in the lead, even up 3-1, they're still getting a little bullied. They're still getting a little bit corralled. They have to go kind of where Virtus.Pro's not at the start of these fights. And the only real thing they have to say where, like, this fight is happening this way is overpower. That's really the largest part of their composition's control. So if Diggy's not hitting these overpowers, these fights are much tougher for Ninjas in Pajamas.
Well, it's an automatic one-man advantage. And allowing the rest of the team to capitalize on that. Somebody's got to get down and contest here. Grumpy Bomb, a good wall. Wow. Well played there. Only 1 kill, didn't matter anyway. Grumpy Bomb and the wall forces the late dash there.
Remember game 1?
I do. But reversed.
Yep.
Here's Erase. Beautiful. I believe this is a triple on the back end of it. The flicks are good. This Cassie's good. Helps seal it up.
That's Inflame, man. I mean, they came in with a vengeance. Fast, lethal. And just like that, it's 3-3. Ninjas in Pajamas and Virtus.Pro. Basically the same as game 1. If you're just now joining us, Virtus.Pro, we're rolling NIP on Jag Falls. Up 3-1. And in what felt like a matter of a minute or two, NIP were able to turn things around and even the scoreline back up. Slash lines are pretty. The damage charts are in their favor, but there's so much more at play here that they need to be worried about. No comeback mechanic, no half cap, even footing.
Grunty at 0, 11, 14. Hey, making it another overpower, whether it's the front liner or the back liner or the healer. Diggy Dogs hit them all this game. That's another 4v5 advantage for NIP, and almost even more impactful. Any poke damage is going to be not just shrugged off by some good Fury healing. In this case, Bittner makes good the kill onto Dosups. 0.7 mid-fight. Whoever wins this one wins the game. Either it's a tied-up series or NIP are up 2-0. The retake attempt from Virtus.Pro looking to come through, and Flame is going to start this one off, as well as the King Bomb, looking for a little bit of stun now as Pacheco seismic crash as the wall goes down. Stuns up one, but it's shrugged off in the back line. Pacheco rolls through, doesn't find a kill. Instead, it's Alex who starts this one off, and he's getting ignored in the back line as well. He sees Erase around the corner, chooses not to get aggressive as he backs off here. Point capture time relatively even as we go into the second phase of the fight.
Could be anyone's game at this point still. The Law is available. Hyperbeam is available. Tenor might need to find a big execute. He's going to slide in, and he's going to get it. Cruncy, he's just had his number all game long. That's 3 executes onto Inara.
Yeah, but the Dome Shield comes out as an answer. No more Law to turn it down. Gets a 1 plug onto Pacheco as this game is now at 90% for Virtus.Pro. Rounding the corner. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Dosups doing his best to stay alive now on the mid-fight. That's a good bowling ball to keep him alive. Just a little bit of shielding on the back end as well. Bittner finds a kill in this one, and it's Crunty as well who's going to try to even this one up. You have to look, though, Nick. It's 99% for Virtus.Pro. Erase and Crunty are starting to fire on all cylinders here as NIP bring it to 93% in this mid.
This is where Virtus.Pro's composition starts to succeed, though they have so much more staying power to control an objective. And the Inflame and the Bomb King, he's been getting pocketed against all game long. But when it mattered most, it's Fish who gets a little bit of damage amp and a little bit of control, and he can absolutely win the game. That's great resilience from Virtus.Pro.
He does his best impression.
What a set.
Of Bittner on the opposite side. What a set. It's a set that was promised.
Yes.
Honestly, I mean, 2-3-1 advantages, both flipped on their head. NIP so overwhelmingly in control of game number 2. Dashed away by Virtus.Pro. They got to be feeling good after that one, and this honestly could turn into just a heavy momentum-based set. The tug and pull, the tug of war is going to be so interesting to watch over the course of this one. I'm excited. Only 2 games in.
Again, seeing that element of the turnaround, the last second, these teams aren't giving up. They realize even though it's 3-1, their advantages are still out there. They have resources, they have ultimates, and they absolutely have what it takes to turn these games around.
Well, I'm excited to watch more of it. We want to make sure that we can jump right back in as soon as possible. We got game 3 right on the back side of this break.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the Paladins Premier League.
Well, it was a very grueling match for these teams, and the entire time all I was thinking was how powerful NIP looked, and Virtus.Pro still clutch it out. Kresnik, what gave them the strength? What gave them the resilience to be able to actually bounce back like that?
Late game, once the shielding was not able to stay online as much, it was a lot harder for them to really accomplish what they needed to. I was originally questioning some of their plays, their ultimates at the end. They threw 2 CC ults at people with Resilience 3, but they had the focus fire on top of it to make that work, to confirm that damage. And even in the face of 150,000 damage from Tenor, double boosted by Bird and Bonker, the sustain of double point tank Furia was just too much to overcome.
I mean, yeah, you break this one down. I mean, 1 in 13 for Cruncy, 11 and 12. Like, the slash lines are not there for Virtus.Pro. You have Cruncy playing Inara, of all things. You get Torvald Genos, 2 forms of damage amp for a 16, 7, and 14 Mave, a 23, 6, and 16 Lex. But Fisheko is the one, I think, at the end of the day, who helped seal the deal. Array's going 9 and 9, and even though slash line might not match it, the impact was still felt. And through a lot of this, we were saying, man, this Bomb King is not the answer. And then at the end of the day, it ended up working.
Yeah, I was questioning the pick, at least into the aggression. I feel like he's an alright dueler, but in the face of damage reduction and shields, he struggles a bit. But, I mean, Fish found the places he had to be. He had a couple rough rounds, but again, this last fight, he came in clutch, found the hits onto Alex thanks to the inflamed damage boost, and he really did what he had to for the team. And again, I was doubting it at first, but they pulled it out.
Well, I guess it just goes to show, as long as you show up for the last fight, your team can still win, even when I think quite literally, I can say this with confidence, everything in that game was stacked against you. That was really, really good on Fish and really good on VP, I think, to be able to hold on as long as they did. But I would also say maybe kind of jarring if you're NIP, because that's a game to win. Like that's a 4-0. You should have been done in map 3 already.
That's your first Bright Marsh loss in weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in matches.
Not where they want to be, but luckily for you, we don't have to wait, well, about an hour every time. Now we're just going to be able to jump straight into the next one. And Ice Mines was one of the other maps, however long ago, we talked about.
Yeah, and it's a map that VP looked fantastic on at least 2 weeks ago, and NIP, I guess they think they're going to be looking better. They're a team that I think they have something up their sleeve in draft, and I'm curious to see what it is. VP starting with a Willow ban. Willow very strong on Ice Mines because of her just AoE denial. Ice Mines has a lot of small choke points, and NIP, again, going against their previous kind of standard. They're banning Makoa. They're not scared. I was going to say they're scared of it, but I doubt NIP has any fear running through their bones right now. Banning Koa Atlas, they just don't want to play against those power tanks on a map where tanks are so influential.
I also think it's really interesting to note that because this is NIP choosing to go here, they also opted into second pick, which is not typically something you see. Like a lot of the teams, usually we choose where we go. We want first pick because of we can grab Torvald, we could grab Makoa, we could grab Atlas, we can play with the bans. So what would incline you, I guess, on this map specifically to maybe want to go second?
I'm guessing that they want Pip or something. Like something that's second pickable on Ice Mines, but not really first pickable.
Yeah.
So I could see like an Ashe Pip coming out here just because they want that. Or Drogo's instead, another AoE control blaster. Combustible, very powerful at owning that stage side, the one with the pitfall. Usually teams kind of split it. They call it stage and barn. Barn being the close to the choke, stage being further away. So Drogo's gives them a lot of control over there. The biggest issue would be if a new team is aggressive, Drogo's can't really handle it that well, but starting with a Grover and a Khan, VP's not looking to be pushing the issue too much.
Well, so far they've been able to kind of, I want to say, skirt the issue of aggression. I mean, Inara Barrack isn't necessarily known for just knocking your teeth out. It's more known for its resilience. And that's what we saw them do last game. Victor, though, we do see pretty often on this map, but it still feels like a very... I guess not anymore. It used to be a very edge case PC pick here for the Premier League. Something you would see and expect in the console league, but he's solid on Ice Mines.
I think just being able to stand in the window and keep up the spam, plus barrage of grenades around corners, they do get a lot of finishes on people that are trying to retreat once they get low from the Grover. Depending on how VP has their draft going, they could either have the Victor chasing the kills with the grenades, or he's going to be the one laying down the damage, and maybe they'll have, I don't want to say a flanker, because it's not really that common on this map, but maybe a more mobile backline to finish up the kills.
See, all my mind can do is pick apart that you said window spam and grenades, and now I just want to see Dredge. I doubt he's going to be locked in here, but you never really know.
It is NIP.
It is NIP.
You trespass.
Admittedly, I don't know what to expect out of him. I'm not sure anybody does. And Nara going to be locked in over the barrack for them here, along with the Moldama. Going to keep him alive. Drogo's. It feels very standard, kind of bland as of right now, really, from NIP. No spicy flavors. Virtus.Pro, as much as I want to say it, theirs feels more Ice Mines.
Yeah, and you know what actually else? I think NIP are stacking CC a little too much. That's four characters that Resilience will get very strong value into. I mean, Assert Dominance, and Ash knockback, Drogo's combustible knockback, Damba, basically everything he does other than healing, and Inara seismic crash, all of that gets countered directly by resilience. So if VP can kind of withstand the tide and make it to the late game, NIP's effectiveness is going to go drastically down. Bomb King getting picked up again for VP too, so they kind of have a hybrid, like, aggressive and defensive comp. Grover is more of a passive healer because he heals you in a death ball while you spam. You're gonna see a lot of, I think, BK Khan aggression, and the BK is gonna try to finish off the kills from the Victor's damage.
Now, before Pip really kind of took over as like the premier blaster on Ice Mines, Bomb King was always like one of the go-tos.
Yeah.
And I think we even see that if you roll back to the beginning of Phase 1, he was one of the ones they like to go to. Not surprising to see Fish go from game-winning play to let's get me Bomb King again. So he's going to lock that in, and then he's going to be going up against the Pip.
Yeah, and the Pip, Drogo's double blaster for NIP. It worked on the first map. So not surprised to see them go back to it, but it is a pretty different map. I think that Victor is actually going to be really hard for NIP to get through. It's going to depend a lot on the assert dominance, but another CC champion. Another CC, champion that Resilience is going to be super effective into.
The good news for Pip is there is at least a bottom window. For everyone else, all those stuns, all the fears, you're just going to see him go, okay, I'm back in the fight. But for Pip, you do have the minimum duration, 2 seconds, I believe, right, on the Evil Mojo?
Yeah, 2 seconds minimum.
So you're going to at least have some chance to fight back. But out of these two drafts, with Virtus.Pro kind of locking in something that you said is kind of hybrid, passive-aggressive, do you think they have what it takes to take Ice Mines?
I think so, purely because I think NIP's draft is too one-directional. I think VP is more flexible.
Well, we're going to have to see whether or not they can do it. They've had the flexibility in the draft. Let's see if they can execute it that way and go down to the casters to kick this game off.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen on the desk. Down to a best of 5 here in our first set this week. Ice Mines it is, a map that you might as well flip a coin whether it's going to be a 4-0, a 4-3, I couldn't tell you. It's going to be fun to watch play out, though. They go back to the Bomb King. Fishy helped seal up game number 2, I should say, on Bright Marsh for Virtus.Pro. They go back to it here. Resilience will be a high-value item here for Virtus.Pro. Given that all but one ultimate on the opposite side are affected by it.
Yeah, buddy. So I'm flipping my coin towards the 4-0 side if NIP get rolling. They have a lot of CC that's going to fall off, but it's a very real possibility, especially given how we've seen how they've been able to do so much with so little. Frankly, both these teams have, but being able to do a lot with a little when you have this much CC, 2 executes essentially on your roster.
True.
They could end this game 4-0 if they get rolling.
Virtus.Pro are going to do their best to have something to say about that. Fasheko on the backside getting plugged out very low. Crunty as well now getting flanked out by Bittner on the Pip. This is going to be a dead con shortly, certainly. Fasheko, though, is actually the one who dies first, and Crunty's able to get out alive. Battle Shout with the shielding keeps him alive. Yeah, that's very surprising here in this case. Fire Spit as well, doing a good bit of chunk damage here for NIP. Finally, the con is down. Diggy Dog is going to be the one to capitalize on that. Alex, 199 health. Call it 200s, able to pull out alive here in this case. NIP going to counter out what Virtus.Pro were able to do.
Yeah, and this is not the clean team fight win. This is not any zoning, so there will be another fight. Contrary to popular belief, the wall goes up, spits up over the wall, connect on the 2. 86%, Dave. Dragon Punch is going to happen.
Looking for it. 90% is what's on the point here. Dragon Punch is ready for Alex. Might just use it. Might not have the chance to. If Fasheko gets aggressive, misses the last shot. Whirlwind from Vex keeps Virtus.Pro in this fight, but they're losing all of their players right now. Vex is the only one that pulls it back. Alex elects to go for Dosups here in this case. Evil Mojo might just put its cap on this mid, and NIP strike first.
Quick charging Dragon Punch, quick charging Mojo. Frankly, Dread Serpent's pretty quick charging as well. NIP are going to have these ultimates again in this round. They are not afraid to pop things to get these 2-0 conversions, given how much it means on Ice Mines, too. Because even without comeback mechanic, clean wins mean that you can actually zone it. And as if you did have a comeback mechanic, you won and done these mid-fights.
Oh, when you talk about resilience,
money.
Gonna find a couple stuns here. Dosup's very low as well as Crunty. That's Diggy Dog's cue to get aggressive. Assert dominant slams down from the side. Crunty immediately answers back with an overpower of his own. Diggy Dog might not die due to the direct damage, but is gonna die due to the overpower damage. In this case, Alex tries to capitalize on that on the back end of some good kills here from Virtus.Pro. Looks like NIP are a little bit stalled out. Bonker looks for the stagger. Not able to find it here. Looked good for a minute there from NIP, but a good counter back from VP. Starts off a great defense.
Yeah, definitely. There's, I think some. I see it. I saw a timeline where NIP were able to win that fight because both frontliners from Virtus.Pro were just staring at Digidog for so long.
Yeah.
The full like 6-second hold there, but you know, doesn't count this time around. A lot of ultimates starting to come back up, but for Virtus.Pro, so you can see how aggressive they're getting, almost as if they're the ones now going on the offense. And this is one of the bigger changes, I would say, across the league this season, is that everyone knows how to take ground and kind of root themselves in to an advantageous position, whether it is, you know, on this little point fight, whether it is somewhere that makes them look like they're on the offense. But teams are really, really making every inch of the map something you have to fight for.
It's been the tale of two ice mines. This one
Alex
leaning
just killed
towards the
himself on the
longer
wall.
one right now. Bit of blast back damage, unfortunately, there. Bird snagging a kill here. Looks like Virtus.Pro are drawing their line in the sand, and it's going to be back before the mid fight here. Not too much back cap potential unless somehow Alex is able to soar through everything. Bird dropping down with 10 seconds left. Alex and Bonker, though, able to find some kills. This is a quick moving map if you're able to stagger out the defense relatively heavily. Erase, though, doing his best to prevent that. Actually, NIP now are in behind Virtus.Pro, who are trying to fight backwards back into the payload here. In the meantime, Bonker is moving the payload forward. Wait!
Little frustration on
Did he shoot the wall and kill himself?
Tennis, but he might have. He's so used to doing like all the wall jumping stuff with Pip.
I think he did. I don't think he had enough health left. I don't know if Grunty was around the corner. Time to clean him up. Bonker dropping is going to wear out that overtime. Even fight here so far, 1-1. Alex on this Drogos doing the best he can to be a thorn in the side. Combustible, so much merit on this map.
And winning these ones, so that one hits. I think he missed a bomb. I want to say he missed a bomb because there's a very distinct rhythm to Bomb King auto attack. So, you know, when you hear the kunk, 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 that's what you're expecting. You hear one and then nothing for a while, and then another 700 damage or so comes through onto Alex. One bomb, I mean, you say one shot, but one bomb from Pacheco is going to do 910 damage if it sticks directly.
Yeah,
so
it's a chunk. You only need 3 of them onto the Drogos.
Yeah, one shot is, you know, not the same as a bullet from Victor, as a bullet from Bomb King here. But a lot of ultimates, they always change the course of how the second round goes, especially when you factor in overpower. How different that fight would have been with K-Crunchy as isolated as he was in the start. If he could have just immediately deleted someone, but a much more passive approach for Virtus.Pro here in the second.
Well, everything immediately available for VP here. Ultimate starting to fly back and forth. A dome shield for a seismic crash to start off. Just going to overpower you there. Oh no, he clips the side of the wall. I'm not sure he would have made it anyway, but he definitely didn't make it because of that. Digidog falls. Alex trying to find a Dragon Punch. Beautiful Dread Serpent. Beautiful Evil Mojo. Are they able to capitalize on it, though? He raised Pacheco, both gone. What a stack of ultimates there from NIP, but somehow Dosups is still alive. Somehow they're still finding kills, and Virtus.Pro are the ones who are still on the point.
That was a lot, man. I mean, that was an absolutely filthy Dread Serpent from Bird, and Tenor does what he needs to do to capitalize on that. It looks like he's going to dismount people as well. He's pulled eyes on him. Yes, he's died, but he's kind of opened the door for NIP, at least at large, to get back and involved on this fight. Great wall from Bonker as well. This might be the flip.
He nearly was able to kill off Erase as well. Bonker still alive. Barrage starts to rip through on the backside here. Erase, though, this time the Assert Dominance does connect. Erase is able to shrug that one off and get back into this fight as Dosup and Pacheco both find some to stun. Again, shrugged off by Erase there. Bittner getting a kill as he gets back, gets involved. 99% for Virtus.Pro. Only a couple members of NIP still left alive. Digidog is down. Bittner is down, and Virtus.Pro are up 2-1.
Dave, these.
Oh my God, this set.
These are some of the best Paladins players in the world right here, man.
Oh,
these are great fights. Very, very close. But again, I want to state how important it is. That's such a big ultimate from Bird, such a big ultimate from Tenor. But it doesn't matter. Virtus.Pro are that far ahead in this fight, and it might feel marginal at times. But again, these teams are so good right now, the way they're both playing today, that they're able to do a lot with a little.
Well, Kanga, Na'Vi, you guys got quite an act to follow in our second set of the day. Plenty of more action, though, in our first set. Digidog rips through Pacheco drops. Ultimates again on the high ground, starting to get exchanged here. Erase is actually in the back line here. No more healing for just a moment from NIP. Good flank from the Victor. Could win that 1v1. Bittner's going to be the one to do it, though. Has Evil Mojo ready to go. If Erase was able to stay alive there, would have been a lot more troublesome for NIP trying to stall this one out. Still is very troublesome, as it's basically Bittner and Doseps, or Cruncy, excuse me, trading blows back and forth. Bittner is going to be the last one to fall here, and Payload inching ever closer now to the NIP base. I don't know if you want to score this one, though. 3-1 has been the death sentence for teams to go up by in this set.
True. To have him under the microscope a little bit, I think Erase was really the biggest question mark. Playing Victor, how you position, how you fight around this much crowd control is not easy, but Erase has clearly stepped up to the challenge. What he's doing sometimes, look at the last fight, flanking all the way around. It's kind of weird, but that's what it takes. You can't just sit in the back line here and just tee off with 4 hard crowd control ultimates, waiting, charging, looking pretty much directly at you. Erase has done a great job staying involved and playing around the CC.
Pacheco opens up this one. No more Alex, just for a little bit of time. Has the King Bomb. Diggy Dog down as well. Now it's up to Bonker to try to keep this one from going through. Bird has to slither away. Turn your attention to the Inara, and you might just score this one. Good cleave damage from the Bomb King. NIP are all forced back. Now they're finally starting to get Bonker down. I don't know if they can step out of their base. They're not able to. 3-1 for Virtus.Pro. Now it's time for them to flip the script on that scoreline, see if they can convert it into a win.
A lot of resources. NIP, I think, are making the conscious decision just to give it the old college try, but overall, don't spend anything.
This is it. Oh my.
Again, they were just so far ahead. You look, it was a 3-for-0 exchange. Triple Serpent, triple Mojo, get 2 of the kills instantly. But again, Bird and Tenor are the only 2 people still alive for NIP. They are too far behind. Virtus.Pro needed to make a catastrophic mistake there to lose that fight.
In the meantime, Doseps was just sitting on the point, finding kills, evening things up, keeping things in Virtus.Pro's favor. That's all they needed. A triple Dread Serpent into a triple Evil Mojo into a 3-kill swing is all pretty, unless you're the only 2 left alive here. Virtus.Pro looking to seal up this game, take a 2-1 lead in this set. NIP trying to play spoiler to that. Dragon Punch already from Alex, used on Cruncy in the backline here.
No
Rage
way!
Out as well, a double kill. Might even turn this one around, might even make it a triple. Vex is going to have something to say about that. Bittner still playing obnoxious up in that high ground here as NIP find themselves on the point, find themselves with fast cap.
And Diggy's looking for the zone as well. He wants this Grover. I mean, Alex.
Wow.
Y'all mind if I mess around and win the fight real quick?
The rest of the team is still just getting there. And
crazy. Trying to get the up down here. Triple stun from Diggy Dog. They're just trying to buy time, but the King Bomb's going to go in here. There's going to be another fight.
That's a good wall.
Or
there
not.
is going to be a fight on the back end, but it's not going to matter because NIP seal up the mid. Diggy Dog goes down. Doseps with the double kill. Make it a triple for the Barrack on the point. And if nothing else, this just starts off their defense a little bit better. NIP, it's all peanuts. They're the ones trying to push here as it's a 3-2 slash line.
Great wall from Bonker, shuts it all down. This is the defense, by the way. Don't get it twisted. They are so far out on the zone right now looking for blood. I mean, what's the downfall? If you die here, NIP still has to walk up the hill, through the tunnel, back down, get the payload, try and get it out from where it starts. It's not going to really cost them much. They lose a couple here. Vex is going to stay alive, get one back.
What do you mean? Now we can finally play the game.
It's a long walk back from spawn here on Ice Mines. Ray's trying to ring home a couple of shots on the Doseps. Literally just with the intent to buy time, and they will get a kill for his troubles.
All right, so now NIP get to try to push this one out a little bit. Not just yet. Somebody's going to have to go back and get it moving. It's going to be Bird. These early frontline trades here just going to be supplemented with a little gourd healing. They back off. Minute and 10 seconds left. The payload finally starting to inch closer to the Virtus.Pro base here. NIP looking to seal it up, or tie it up. The correct word in this case. Cruncy, though, trading back a little bit here. Doing his best to prevent that. This is going to be another successful fight on the back end of a Bomb King double kill for Pacheco. This offense is not looking great from NIP.
Still a world-class Bomb King player, so you got to factor that in. Virtus.Pro haven't had to use much. And with the zone here, I don't know. Yeah, we're going to see an overtime. Let's take a look at the items charts.
Yep.
Got to check in with Virtus.Pro, see where they're at for resilience. Everybody's pretty much at the 2 mark.
Wait, Vex is on a 34 streak? What?
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that. Oh, my.
With how clumped these fights are, if Grover kills anyone at any point in the fight and they get a kill, he's going to get an elimination. So,
true.
Big chances for him to get big elimination streaks. That sort of weird, like, hidden, like, ultimate refund, like, shut down a big streak. Yep. Only scales off of kills. So, shutting down Vex, he's only on a 5-kill streak. So, it's not going to literally recharge someone's ultimate.
Nice triple kill from the Khan there just to ice that cake. Still up 3-2 or Virtus.Pro. Need one more mid-fight. Not going to get it done on defense. NIP could tie the game up with another successful mid. Maybe just one more 7-point game for us here. Vex having himself a game. 5-0 and 32 for the Virtus.Pro healer.
Everybody negative with some big margins on NIP. They are on the back foot here, winning their fights off of CC, right? They win, they kill exactly as many people as they need to off of these hard crowd controls, but they're kind of losing these more even footing fights. You look at the majority of that round, and you start to see that one just withering down. Everyone's ultimates are online. This is going to be a big fight for sure. Only half cap enabled for NIP. Not an overwhelming force. Do we see another early Dragon Punch?
Well, everything's starting to get traded. Whirlwind must have been a good Evil Mojo. Maybe not that good as they weren't able to find any kills. Alex, Dragon Punch as well, doesn't find anything. Dosups and Fasheko, the first 2 on the board here. NIP need to win this mid-fight to prevent this set going in Virtus.Pro's favor, but it's not going to happen if Fishy has anything to say about it. Vex extends his streak to 42, a hand in all 5 of those kills.
Jeez.
Actually finishes one off himself. This is the zone, maybe for the win here from Virtus.Pro. NIP have quite an attempt to break here. Only the assert dominance, the overpower as well, does not connect this time around. A barrage might just seal this one up, and Virtus.Pro might just go up 2-1 in the set.
Misses the overpower, that's okay. Such a big lead.
It's going to be the quietest end to this game.
That can happen.
They're going to go up 2-1 on the back end of a one-sided mid-fight here. One final chance to maybe get in the back line. It was Diggy Dog. He's going to get eliminated. And Virtus.Pro take the lead for the first time today. Up 2-1. Only needing 2 more to take the set.
Well, they've broken the 3-1 curse. So
that's true.
Good.
If nothing else, that's the important thing to look at here.
Hopefully, Resilient is what NIP are going to need to channel here because, man, that's a tough one. You know, when you got people that are 5-11, 5-10, those are tough slash lines to kind of deal with. You saw a couple of I think it was because Tenor killed himself on the blast damage, but some notable frustration in the player cams. That's not a fun one to lose, especially when you can see it a mile away on ice mines and you know there's nothing you can do to stop that one. Frustration can run high, and these are the moments that it's going to make or break you. Nobody's come back from that fabled 3-1 lead yet. Nobody's been able to pull that type of big sweep off.
That's right.
So you have to see NIP stay on the tracks.
Well, you got 2 world-class heavyweights exchanging blows here in Virtus.Pro, the most recent ones to swing. They're up 2-1, Game 4, right after this.
The Paladins Premier League is brought to you by Evil Mojo, developers of Paladins.
Well, welcome back, everyone, as we go through and see Virtus.Pro kind of win with the same things we were saying prior were going to be issues for NIP.
Yeah.
Resilience was paying its own weight in gold that entire game.
Especially on a map like Ice Mines where ultimates are so important. I mean, we saw in that one clip we got Tenor's POV where they feared into an Evil Mojo and they got a couple picks, but the other ultimates just weren't finding what they had to, I think, throughout the game. They had to rely on some good walls to counter Fishiko's Bomb King, King Bomb trying to come in. Like, stuff like that was what won the game, but what they normally could rely on, they just could not in the late game.
And, well, it's the same kind of story as last time. 6 digits here for Alex and Bittner, but bigger 6 digits there for Arrays and Fisheko. 118,000 there from the Bomb King. 133,000 coming down from Arrays, which is to be expected. Also, shout out, 43 streak there for
Undying.
Vex. He does not die this entire game. 6-0-37, a very phenomenal Grover game. The other one to highlight is right below him. Cruncy has gone from like 1-10, the 2-8s, to this 14-6-13.
And that's a big turnaround. That's what they needed, I think. Your off tank has to be making space, and I mean, you're still making space even when you're going with those bad slash lines, but being able to find the kills and survive a lot more, it means you can make a lot more space, and Cruncy was able to do just that. I mean, we talked earlier about how NIP might have a disadvantage against Cruncy because he knows what they're doing, but I thought at first it was the opposite. I mean, Cruncy seemed like they had him figured out, but he clearly adapted this game, and it showed.
And being able to set it up. Again, it's just gorgeous for him, in my eyes, to, I want to say, show that resilience, right? When you get knocked down as hard as he did for those few games. It's always nice to be able to kind of keep yourself rolling, keep yourself moving. Also does help when your support doesn't die to keep you as the off tank maybe rolling forward. That 43 still blows my mind. Honestly, that might win in my mind. I can't remember if there's been a streak higher than that. I know there was a Console Wars one where I think there was a 39 total assists and kills over 0. So I think 43 might be the biggest new number that I have seen as far as streaks go. So Vex might be holding a crown right there. And we're going to be going to the maps. Frozen Guard going to be next, so keeping it chilly here. I think I'll also throw this flavor out. The most banned map of Phase 2.
Which isn't surprising, I think. It's kind of limited in the way you play. It's very backline-centric, so some teams that want to have more explosive games out of their flanks might prefer just to get rid of it from the pool. It's also very difficult to push because of the strong high ground that the defensive team gets. NIP's starting by removing Maeve. I think she's the best flanker for this map because A, you can execute off of the Midnight, cross the map as quickly as you need to. It's so open that Midnight has a lot more value. And she's also the best for long-range poking. So getting rid of that early kind of limits what you can do flank-wise.
She's also in a very weird twist of events for NIP. One of the only champions that they just don't seem to know how to play. I mean, they banned her with that. That'll be the 10th time this phase. They picked her twice and lost twice with her. So it just feels like that she came into the meta and they don't know what makes her so strong, or they don't quite have it locked down the way they want to. And so she's been kind of a thorn in their own side. Whereas now you have Ash locked in for them. They're going to be able to get that nice strong first pick there for Diggy. Virtus.Pro deliberate what to go for next.
Ash is a great first pick for NIP too. I mean, the ability to cross the distance that Ash can. I mentioned that's why she's kind of seeing a lot of picking recently, and on this map, it's a huge deal. It's a very wide map, so being able to cross those gaps as quickly as possible, engage a fight faster than any other team will be able to, will really let NIP kind of set their own pace. And that's what they like to do. I mean, they've always been picking double off tank. They love being that aggressive team, and Ash is pretty much the only off tank that can really do that on this map.
Well, Khan's going to be locked in on the other side. Completely possible to overpower people off the edge during the mid-fight. It is very lethal. And even later on, there's a lot of lethal spots to toss people off, but you don't charge it up too quickly. We'll have to see how Virtus.Pro can do that. And the weird thing is we haven't seen Frozen Guard so often now that it kind of fades from my memory what things we see here that are very solid. But this was one of the first maps recently where Shaolin was kind of like resurging, and it's kind of more viable as a pick if you want to, skip over Cassie and Leon.
It's because backlines are just so good. I mean, Cassie and Leon, I would say, are still better than Shaolin in general, but if one's gone and you're like, well, we'll just play 2 backlines because they're just that good. Shaolin is a great supplement there. Eevee coming in for NIP, and I don't know if I like the fact that they followed that up with a Nora, because I feel like this opens up VP to just get a Leon for a raise, and map is so wide, I don't know if they can make the room they need to with the Eevee.
All I can imagine now would be Leon for a Raze, Shaolin for like Fasheko, or a Cassie for Fasheko. And then maybe him showing us why, again, in that Play Like a Pro, he says that this is Eevee's worst map. So maybe we can see that, depending on who's coming through. I'm going to assume Alex there for NIP running the Eevee, as they're going to be looking over it. Hey, we're at least half right so far.
The next time
Leon,
you see my banners,
almost,
run.
well, I say almost immediately, but in Premier League time, almost immediately locked in here for Virtus.Pro, along with the Barrack.
I like the fact that they went to Leon Barrack. Now they have the counter pick up. I wouldn't have been shocked to have seen VP just go Leon Cassie immediately, because, you know, Nip obviously wants it, but I mean, again, we mentioned backlines are still really good on this map. They could end up with a Victor or a Shaolin and it not really be the end of the world for NIP. So smart to be flexible.
This was another one of those maps. I mean, Ice Mines, he's become maybe a little bit more prominent, but Frozen Guard is just as prominent for Victor. We've seen him. I would actually argue he resurged more on this map than on Ice Mines. It's just his resurgence here kind of showcased, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't forget about this guy who, and the right hands does top damage literally every game.
I mean, it's his job to do top damage. So when you see him not doing top damage, you're like, well,
he's fired.
Yeah, or he's just shooting into shields all game. It's one or the other most of the time.
That's Vivian's job, the other V. Get out of here, Victor.
I mean, listen, times are hard.
Times are hard.
Victor takes what he can get at this point.
I mean, there's still a war going on in the realm. War creates money, at least from what history has showed us. So depending on how that goes, he might be able to keep a paycheck in his own pocket, but he's not locked in just yet. This is something, again, reaching into metas of old for Frozen Guard. Snipers used to be very prominent here. Kinessa being hovered right now for NIP.
Out here, I'm
now locked in. How do you feel about it?
I'm always happy to see Kinessa on Frozen Guard, but I always think about what makes it work, and that's really your Kinessa kind of just having an insane game. I always think back to Invocal PWC qualifiers of last year. That game he had on Frozen Guard where I don't think I've ever seen a better Kinessa gameplay, at least at the professional level. That was a absolute just clinic that he put on. So I think they're going to have to match that here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see VP going double backline and maybe trade into them. I would be surprised, and color me surprised. Okay, Drogo's on Frozen Guard into Kinessa. That is really interesting. My idea for that would be counter the Eevee. You think Eevee's going to be playing up by the pillar side, so you have Drogo's purely worm jetsing out of the Kinessa sightline to match up against the Eevee. That's the only thing I could think of that would make him useful on this map.
Well, we're going to see whether or not they can actually live up to that. It is a dangerous game that Virtus.Pro seem to be playing with the draft. And so high-level execution, I mean, theory is always one thing. It comes down to whether or not you can make it work. But Drogo's kind of throwing us for a loop. Let's go ahead and jump down to the caster, see if they feel the same way.
Well, it is my favorite scoreline. 2-1, either Virtus.Pro take that 3-1 lead, NIP tie this one up. If you covered up the map, if you covered up Frozen Guard, Nick, I would not say that these are Frozen Guard drafts necessarily. Maybe Frog Isle, something of that like, but it is Frozen Guard. We get a Drogos on Frozen Guard for the first time, and I'm not sure how long, and then, of course, Kinessa on the opposite side. I believe Strix was the last time I saw Bittner play a sniper on this map.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun one, though. In theory, it works.
Yeah, that was a much more corny, like all-in, Torvald Strix style of Kenner, just carry the game, please. Not going to work here. Didn't work then either, I think, for the record. We'll definitely have some questions swirling around Drogos. Not an overly popular pick for this map. But I think few would stand up and question Fishy on any of his blaster picks.
I would
Whatever
never.
maps you prefer. I'm sure he has his reasons.
I would never.
He's not the type of player to kind of be bossed around either by his team to play something he's not feeling good about. I think he kind of has the weight to throw around in terms of his past success as well. Dragon Punch is always nice to have to get rid of when you look at Inara Damba.
Well, if he's going to be free flying and free firing on the Kinessa on the opposite side, he's got to make sure to hit his salvos when he's got him. Good shot there. Cleans up Bonker, because that's why Bittner gets it. Alex with the return shot. Good shot from down below. Cleans up Fasheko here in this case. NIP were able to garner themselves 54%, 42 now as the rest of NIP start to fall. It's like an overwhelming wave.
Wow.
One falls and then the rest do as well.
Look at 88% on an end flame as well. This could be a very easily winnable team fight. North of 80% nearly on Enlightenment as well.
Oh, no.
The boy blinks, unfortunately, right into a Pyre Strike. You hate to see it.
You do hate to see it. Good return kill there from Bittner. But Inflame, just to put the cap on that one, ices the cake, puts Virtus.Pro up 1-0. Now Bittner gets to try his hand at a little bit of defense on that. Kinessa's going to be hanging up and free and clear in this back line here, absorbing all the pressure that Virtus.Pro has to offer.
Huh.
Only 2 kills,
Look at
both
Vex.
onto Pacheco.
Vex is second in damage.
Yeah.
Furia, bring him out, bring him out. My man is ready to get involved and win this damn set. Vex, one of the more just impassioned players, tries to time the Enlightenment off the ice block. Rolled the dice, came up empty. Would have been sick, Addy, and sometimes you just got to take those. Shoot your shot, kid.
That's right. Shoot your shot, roll those dice. Sometimes it might roll 7, but that's okay.
Shoot your shots, but also
pass them on down the line. Also pick and choose your shots. Virtus.Pro, though, keep it moving forward. Some good trades in the middle section here.
Can we watch Pacheco?
Yeah, I was going to say, this flank around the right-hand side.
Something's
going to
happening.
be interesting. I mean, you have
he
to
could
assume.
keep going, too, man. He could go all the way around. Surprise!
Oh! Into the ice block goes Alex, actually a little bit more return damage than I think he was expecting. This could be a potent Dragon Punch, though, the way that this flank is playing out. Everyone's focused on this cart that has now made its way underneath. Overpower as well onto Alex. Pacheco with the angle to complete that one. Dragon Punch starts to fly through, looking for any target. Finds Bonker, excuse me. In this case, Diggy Dog drops. Bittner is the only return kill from the high ground. And again, like a wave, Virtus.Pro crash over NIP, pushing that payload for a 2-0 lead.
Resources expended, though. Keep that in mind. I think that's something Virtus.Pro need to keep in the front of their minds as well. They have comeback mechanic, no overpower, and no Dragon Punch to deal with. Very winnable fight coming up for them, and a fight that they absolutely need and should probably win convincingly if they want to show us that they really have a fighting chance here on Frozen Guard. Funny stuff to watch. I mean, Wormjets has redefined maps, period, for Drogoz. I mean, where he plays from is just completely different, and we really, I actually don't think this year we've seen Drogoz on Frozen Guard. So watching, at least since the Wormjets rework, where he's going to play from, he could have gone even further around on the flank. There's a lot of airspace to play with off to the right side of this map. He's going to be grounded for the time being in an ice storm.
All planes grounded until further takeoff is available. Diggy Dog, Bittner, 1 and 2 here. Bird doing his best to supplement a little bit of healing on the back line as well. Into the ice block goes Alex. He raised, though, with the clean rotation. And it's a clean sweep as well onto Virtus.Pro. They're all respawning, and NIP with fast cap are zoning to try to get on the board.
My, oh my. That was an explosive start. But again, we talked about the comeback mechanic. We talked about how many resources were down for Virtus.Pro. So this is a fight that they should win. The overtime will happen. Khan gets in there, but immediately is shown the door without able to get much back for it.
He raised, though, stays alive. He's had a quiet, pretty good game here. So many low health bars for Virtus.Pro. This could be a good fight back for NIP. They were forced back just a little bit. Bittner in the scope, an awkward spot for him to try to find some shots. Very close. Quick flicks are important there. Fishy pulls one back. Doesn't matter, though. NIP get themselves on the board, get their first payload of the game on the back end of some Virtus.Pro ultimates that were not quite available.
Well, twirling the mustache as he pushes the cart a little bit. A little hurry up and wait. But he wanted to take a fight outside of where the map is advantageous to do so. Fishy's going to command some of the airspace. Has a Dragon Punch, figures why the hell not? It's early on, plenty of time on the clock. Let's track somebody down.
Looks like it's going to time out before he's able to find anyone. Just a little bit of scouting. Flipping the script here. One more shot from Bittner will do it. Bittner's done a good job of plugging away at Pacheco throughout this game. Crunty trying to stay aggressive. 400 health is all he's got. Erase comes to the rescue for his frontliner into the shield. Into the healing goes Khan. Forced back or NIP. Virtus.Pro with a good start to their defense. And they are on defense despite NIP being forced all the way back here. Payload moving the wrong direction for the offensive team. 3 ultimates as well for Virtus.Pro. Start to use some of these in these, minute-plus situations. Becomes a much harder time for NIP.
Into the ice block. Gonna get some healing, but not a lot of EVs living out of ice blocks today, no matter who's playing it.
This flank.
Everybody on point. Crunchy's pushing up. Getting in there from the backside. The fire spits are good as well. Virtus.Pro,
good positioning
in these sort of weird skirmishes, have just done very well overall today. On Ice Mines they did well. They had some good ones on Bright Marsh as well. Not afraid to slow down NIP. Again, never playing as if they're behind, never playing as if they're on the back foot. It's been a hell of a strategy, and you want to talk about some weird flanks. Doing what needs to be done, playing where you need to be playing from Arrays, wherever he needs to be. Doesn't matter if it's never something he's had to do before. The guy can really read a situation and find where he's going to be most effective.
I mean, that last little flank was a perfect example. Just follows Crunchy around the backside. NIP get forced into one another from the front and the back.
For such a new player, too.
Yeah. They're feeling confident, man. I'm telling you, this is a Virtus.Pro that I think are going to be able to do some things down the stretch.
Definitely want to sit down with him, see what his kind of background was, because he's pretty new to Paladins. MSI was his first LAN event. But he's just got such good sense about him, it feels like to me. I don't know, definitely feels like there's something more to that boy's story. We should uncover it for you. Plenty of ultimates, all 10 online. And IP trying to even this one up. Defensive point is on the table. So, VP, this overtime should expire. They are awarded the 3-1 lead.
In an ideal world, you don't use any ultimates. You seal the game up on the next mid. Getting a kill on a Diggy Dog is almost the perfect way to start this one off. Just one kill puts Bonker in the worst possible spot. And then Fasheko, I can see over that wall. I can shoot down on you, and I'm going to do just that. No more front lines. No more time. 3-1 up. Go Virtus.Pro. Head-scratching moments from NIP. What went wrong? Well, they got one more mid-fight to try to figure that out.
Something ideal world as well. There's nothing used. Virtus.Pro either. Love what we're seeing at the moment. Is this Drogos really the trump card? It's not something you have to play against very often, and Fishy's very mindful of Tenor's lines of sights.
Yep.
Try and keep a limit on what he's able to do. Obviously, he's going to find a couple opportunities here and there. 7-6, 10-5 for Raises Leon, one of his comfort characters, you have to say, after the MSI, if not his most comfortable character, Leon and Cassie.
That's right.
The more vanilla of the sort of backline hit scan pool, but effective all the same.
He can do it all here. He'll look to do that, and Flame is the first thing to go here for Virtus.Pro, trying to end this game. Fasheko with the Dragon Punch is going to do it. Bittner's going to get run down as well. Ice Storm from Alex, maybe pulling something back, but the frontliner now in the form of Crunchy getting involved. A double kill for Fishy, a double kill for Crunchy. They're just going to run down Alex here, make it 3 in this fight for the Drogos. And they still have Overpower. They still have Enlightenment. NIP have plenty to work with as well. 3 CC ultimates. That could flip this one around. Virtus.Pro are just going to set up their defensive line here, try to weather the onslaught that needs to come here. They're going to get rid of Bonker as well. I don't think they knew that the Drogos was up there. They might just be able to get this kill. Seismic Crash is going to fly. I'm not sure what it found on the backside. Diggy Dog, though, trades out with Crunchy. Bonker goes down. Dread Serpent finds almost no value. Slither gets in, tries to find a touch, and now they're just throwing bodies at the point as the Assert Dominance comes down.
Well, it's 8 seconds of damage immunity. Nice ice block there from Alex. How long will it buy him? Just a few seconds more. Fish is already raising his fist in defiance.
Wow.
As he's ready to launch another Dragon Punch. He's barely even has his hands on the keyboard at this point. The game feels so locked in, and it will be. And again, those last couple of moments is what makes me say that Drogos feels like a trump card. Inara is just so in trouble once she breaks out into that line of sight. There's nothing anyone can really do. I think Bird had to burn a Dread Serpent just to get Fish out from the air. You look at the fight before that, my man comes in on his Wu-Tang with an Enlightenment activated. He crushes 2-3 people in Tenor's airspace as well. He shoots directly down on the top of Tenor's skull, gets that kill, and then it's just free reign from there.
I mean, they had plenty to work with. NIP did towards the end of that, but you're right. You're using those, instead of using them offensively, you're using them to peel because the Drogos is just wreaking havoc from up above. It's an interesting pick. Worked out in dividends there on Frozen Guard. No more ice maps. They're both done for here in this one. One game away from being the third team to beat MSI. Can he raise and Crunchy do it again? Find out right after this.
Skillshot, the official production partner of the Paladins Premier League.
they manage to find themselves up now, 3-1. A little bit of a slip up overall in game one, but Virtus.Pro's been on a tear since then.
Yeah, they really just figured out what was going wrong. I think their drafts have been really solid. I think NIP had a misstep draft-wise on Ice Mines, but drafts were, I think, pretty even since then.
I mean, going into that one, there was something that really caught your eye and, kind of caught all of it. I'll go through some of the other numbers before we get to that. 73,000 there for our raise. Definitely had a pretty big impact. Cruncy was, again, doing very well compared to what we saw in games, I would just say 1 and 2. But it's that guy down at the bottom that's confusing. Now, I know a lot of people are used to seeing Drogo's image next to Fish Echo's name, and it's not too uncommon to see him do something like 13-6-6. But it is on Frozen Guard. That's not a map that this really happens on.
Yeah, and I found it really interesting. I remember as soon as they capped, I remembered, you could just play on the outside. You could just wrap on that outside thing.
Round the outside.
Yeah, I'm not going to continue that because it only gets worse from there. But the ability for you to control that top area behind the log, I guess, the log corner, I don't know any other way to say that, on the last push is super strong. Plus, once you have the zone control, the chokes are really difficult to push through. Like this, he's straight above spamming down. There's not a lot they can do to deal with him. I mean, they'd have to win the outer area, but the rest of VP is just able to keep that under wraps.
I mean, we always talk about diversification of targets, and for me, on a map like Frozen Guard, that means maybe there's a guy over there on the cliff and there's a guy on point, and you have to decide which one you want to shoot. He added a third dimension to that by being up in the sky so often, and like you said, a lot of the times hovering over what could be pure death if he slips up, if he mistimes either a thrust or if he's not paying enough attention to his boost, and just getting good peeks on the entryway, or I guess exit from the spawn of NIP, a lot of control there. And something like, another new spot for me personally to see out of Drogo's, like the bell tower I saw on Stone Keep a few days ago. It's just impressive to see that come through.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, NIP's draft, I don't know about that EV pick into leaving the Leon open.
Yeah.
That Alex really struggled, I felt, throughout that game. The Drogo's is already good at countering him, but the Leon, I think, added just another layer of counter flank pressure that they just could not get through. I mean, in that play like a pro from Fishko, what was the one map he said he doesn't want to play EV on?
Frozen Guard. Hey, I guess it holds true. Yeah. So we put it to the test. Not intentionally, but we put it to the test, and we did have it come through. And so we're looking at them up again 3-1 right now. Not a typical spot you find NIP in. Although, as the year has gone on, a much more common spot for NIP to kind of find themselves with the backs against the wall and not too successful.
Yeah, as the teams figure them out, I expect to see this more and more, but I think NIP have the clutch factor, at least in the regular season, to be able to come back from situations like this. I don't know if they can do it against this VP roster, though. I mean, they're looking like it. They are a different team, basically. They're looking like a completely. They're not represented at all by their seeding.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the thing we see here, because when you go to what could be your final map, that is, you're putting everything on the line, kind of showing everything you have left for NIP here. So that's going to be, I think, what their goal is going to be, is just win. I guess, really, there's no more deep meaning to that. It's just crack that eggshell, find yourself a W, stay alive in the set, and keep on pushing through. But Virtus.Pro, on the other side, have the opportunity to show that maybe they have everything they want. And it's going to be Frog Isle, so it's not going to be anywhere outlandish. And maybe we'll be able to see that Kinessa work a little better this time.
Maybe. I mean, if we're going by the order here, it's going to be a VP4-0, right? We had VP4-3, VP4-2, VP4-1.
Oh, now I guess,
it has to be a 4-0, right?
If
well,
you're
congratulations. Congratulations to No, but seriously, I think, it's another Drogo's map we want. I mean, it's also another Kinessa map. We can see both of them come back here. Clearly, Fish knows how to play that matchup, Drogo's and Kinessa. Not one you normally talk about having an advantage in, but he seems to. Ban's pretty standard to start. NIP banning Torv on first pick. That might be a surprise, though, because they do love Torvald.
Well, they're kicking Spuds out of the seat just to make sure. Vex making sure that he is, representative as the true center of the team. And so he's going to be able to take over. Khan banned there, along with the Atlas and the Torvald. Makoa right now, if I remember correctly, has a 100% win rate for NIP, so I expect to see him banned out, lest you play a very dangerous gambling game against them.
Yeah, it really is kind of relying on how good you think that off-tank is playing today. And I don't think Diggy's been playing bad, so smartly, they do ban the Makoa. The only strong off-tank I think that's really left is Ashe, so she gets locked by NIP. That means, to me, that they want to be aggressive. They want to push the danger. I mean, of course it does. That's basically all she does. She has that crazy forward pressure, forward control.
Would you say that she is the danger?
I would say she is the danger. She controls the danger.
So there you go. She's going to be able to come through. And a little bit of Walter White inside of her, channeling that. She's going to be knocking on VP's door. And the question is how they want to answer it. Now, when you have something as aggressive, I guess, as NIP seem to be leading, do you tend to lean more triple DPS to kind of maybe absorb her, blow her up, and then take back? Or do you go the other way and maybe try to find something more defensive?
I think you get a defensive off-tank for danger, especially on this map. Frog Isle, to me, is the premier double tank map. I feel like you really can't get away with not running it that way, and VP smartly. NiP don't have a point tank. They have the best off-tank, so they take double point tank. It worked for them before, kind of limiting NiP's options, at least, for that point presence. They're going to have to stick with a Nando, most likely.
Who do you want? Nando? Terminus? Then where do we go? Ruckus, I guess, but
Ruckus point tank.
Yeah, it's not exactly known. At that point, I think you send Ashe as your point tank, and you just hope for the best. But it is definitely a thinner pool for an IP to finish out their draft, and this is what happens. I mean, this is one of the things we've talked about. You could do it with DPS, you could do it with flanks, you could do it with supports, but we see it most often done with the tanks, and that is when you ban 4 of them, you leave, I believe, 5 available, and admittedly, 2 of those 5, don't see a whole lot of play. 3 of them really are iffy when you pick them. Ruckus is the one that's kind of the fringe, like he can work, but at the same time, you don't see him too often. Fernando has been back and forth, but a little more on the up and up lately. And then, well, you were coaching SSG at the time, so we know what happens with Terminus.
Yeah, I'd like to wash that out of my brain as quickly as possible. I want him to work. I swear he can work. I just needed more time. But NIP don't want to give VP any time with that very aggressive draft that they're starting with. I mean, Ashe, we talked about how aggressive that is, but Maeve and Genos, that is all in almost, I feel, on this map at least. Midnight into your Ashe dashing in for assert dominance, and VP, they're picking, I think, the better sniper to deal with it. Roost still will give him that 30% DR until Pirate's Treasure comes out, so going to be strong defensively. And Ying, a really good sustained healer.
Don't hesitate to ask.
I think I almost would have wanted to take my Drogos there. I feel like he's the best defensive danger option.
Yeah.
But taking Ying, I guess maybe they want to remove the focusing lens Ying from NIP just in case they want to go that way. You never know with them.
It's a dangerous game to be playing when you're up against a focusing lens Ying. The other thing in my mind, and this might be levied to you depending on these last 2 picks from NIP, is also maybe playing that game of, again, you were saying maybe go defensive for danger. You said Drogos fits in really well there. But Fish does love his Eevee. And this is a good map for Eevee, so she's also still available. And we don't often see Maeve paired up with an Eevee. And in fact, we don't really see Maeve paired up with NIP that often either. She's not very successful for them, even though she's been successful in the meta. Is this this is kind of their game to lose with this amount of control, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I think Eevee could work for VP if they wanted to take it. It could even work for NIP if they really just want to just tape the brick to the gas pedal and just go. Hopefully they jump out of the car in time. Yeah. That's what they might want to do, but it looks like they are going to do it. Nando point tank, probably for some ults to the Immortals, can delay the fight, make it go a little longer, and they are going to take that double flanker, so VP, they could still go with the Drogos if they so choose. They could even play Worm Jets at this point because they really don't have a great counter to it on NIP, but Combustible's still probably going to be ideal, or they could even just take a Leon and play that kite back very far and burn down the flanks when they come in.
Now, all I can think is it feels like NIP have been in a perpetual state. Like Ashe, Maeve, Genos, they wanted those picks, but it feels like there's a lot of like VP said no to their draft, and so they chose the next best thing, which all of them in certain pairings, if you split this up in different chunks, are really, really solid. I don't think I've ever seen this sort of draft on Frog Isle, though. Drogos is locked in at the end to be a little more defensive here for VP. Who do you think has the edge up in the draft?
I give the edge to VP, but NIP have one of those comps where if everyone's firing on all cylinders, they can take it. I mean, those are very skill-based characters. maybe not Nando. I mean, there's definitely moonwalk tech with him and lining up fireballs, but that's not going to change the pace of a game. But Maeve and Eevee, I think they have that potential. With how the game's been going, though, I'm going to have to give the edge to VP.
It's definitely feeling maybe a little bit more strength for Virtus.Pro. And it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. I do like, though, that NIP are showing at least a little resilience, saying, you know what?
Yeah.
Just because we lost that last one does not mean it was the Eevee. We can pick her up again, keep her going forward with us, and see what we can do. So now we're going to go down to Frog Isle and, well, see if they can do it.
Well, that is the question of the hour, Gormizer. Can Virtus.Pro do it? Game 5, Frog Isle. Double blaster again here. For NIP, they're gonna be looking to make Erase's life just a little bit uncomfortable here in this case. I think they could do it. It's gonna be a fun one to watch unfold, though, Nick.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. There's not an inordinate amount of pressure on him. We've seen this guy pop off. We've seen him. It's kind of poetic, but take the Strix on the game to beat NIP and to win the MSI.
That's
He's
true.
Done
This
it
is
before.
Wait a second. Didn't MSI end 4-1? NIP won the first game. Penta won the next 4. It all ended on Frog Isle.
I can't remember the exact way that it went.
I think it was.
Off the top of my head.
I think NIP won the first game.
I'll trust you.
I could be wrong. Now I'm second guessing it. Either way, it was a 4-1 scoreline that all ended on Frog Isle. Might be more the same here. Alex doing his best to stop that from happening with a kill onto Inara to start this one off.
How did that happen so fast? That's really the question.
It's been a concerted effort from everyone just to kill this one person in particular. It was Cruncy, who's back on the Inara this time. Barrack as well.
Nice shot.
For Dosips on the opposite side. Gonna be a lot to deal with this Drogos up and over onto Cruncy as well. 72%. Diggy Dog knocks Cruncy off the map here in this case. Just trying to play the game, and he walks forward, dies once, walks forward, knocked off the second time.
But it's a worthwhile note. You know, I mean, Cruncy now on the Inara. Last time around, it was the opposite. Doe had a really, really good game on Inara, so played it again on Frozen Guard, and now they make the switch up here. Not saying it's going to tilt the game one way or the other, but it's absolutely something to keep an eye on, these little micro adjustments these teams are making. Inordinate amount of pressure. That was the wording that I used, and I think NIP have definitely dished that up. You look at Diggy, you look at Alex, you look at Tenor, all past half court, diving ruthlessly onto VP.
It's a beautiful start from the Ninjas here and exactly what they needed. Good delay, actually, on the point from Dosips. What was almost certainly done and dusted is now maybe getting flipped around as Vasheka with the Dragon Punch starts to fly through. They sent the Barrack on the point to contest. He was really the last one left alive with a little bit of healing, maybe. But NIP weren't able to seal this one up. Now Virtus.Pro with a great chance to maybe turn this one around. The Dome Shield drops through time and space, spits out. They're looking to get aggressive. One more plug shot might just do it.
Nice.
Erase gets the kill through the start of the midnight onto Bittner. Bonker drops as well. Ice Storm cleans up Erase. Alex might be the only saving grace that NIP have. But Virtus.Pro, they're still so healthy. They're still so alive. Once that assert dominance wears out, they might just seal it. But he knocks him back just a little bit. He's now the focus of attention. Vex cleans that one up. And against all odds, Virtus.Pro have now maybe won the first point.
The frontliners are starting to get back. Seismic crash on a both, but there's an Immortal to answer. Tenor's going to be able to bounce back out of this one. Eats the Fire Spit is actually pretty fortunate for him, but he's still running out of HP and out of time.
Yeah, Bittner, Bonker both drop.
Oh, no.
How did that get turned around? It was Barrack who was left alive with some healing. NIP was at full strength.
It's the Dragon Punch, man.
Oh,
Everybody backed off from the Dragon Punch. Wisely, Fishy canceled it out because he's like, yeah, one pick would be nice, but I've effectively zoned 5 people and I can live here. I'm going to take door number 2. What they do is they buy a ton of zoning. Erase needed to step up there, and he did. Hits a huge shot on a Maeve. God knows what could have happened if that Midnight is allowed to burn its full duration. So big shot there. Doesn't do too much more after that, but the rest of Virtus.Pro, with their eyes actually open and their vision restored, they were able to just close it home.
Getting some good healing here. Well played by Virtus.Pro. That's the fight back you need if you're looking to take an entire set off of NIP, much less single game here in this case. Good answer back. No Diggy Dog, no Bittner, no Alex now. This payload's going to get moving forward. I think to start off, they dealt with this Drogos pretty well on NIP, but what have you done for me lately is now he's burning away at an H streak.
Fish is a master, man. He's not going to float around where you're gonna able to just, obliterate him out of the sky. He's hyper aware of where these snipers are, where they want to play, and where he can position to just kind of, do his thing. He's he's probably one of the best blaster players, if not the best blaster player ever to grace the mouse and the keys. And again, the theme, no Eevee shall survive an ice block today, man. Unfortunate stuff from my girl.
Raze immediately gets traded out here as Bonker does his best stall impression. He's doing it pretty well here. Crunchy, though, drops off Bird. This becomes a lot more difficult now for the frontliners to stay alive. Seismic Crash rips through. Doesn't look like it finds too much value. If nothing else, just delays out the fight a little bit. Bonker's going to drop here. Payload inching ever closer. Dragon Punch maybe just to seal this one up. NIP, they're going to be fighting down from the high ground. I'm not sure that they have the time or the space to get into this one. Looks like they might just concede it. They are going to get the touch in there in the form of Alex. Into the ice block he goes. Delays out the fight just enough to get NIP back to full strength here. Dancing around it, illusory rift from Virtus.Pro as well is going to keep them nice and alive. Diggy Dog drops. One frontliner left for NIP to try to contest. Beautiful shot there from Pacheco. Knows the champion inside and out. Erase, though, drops to Bittner on the back line. One more shot from the Drogos will do it. And again, 2 predictions. Pacheco gets rid of the blasters. Virtus.Pro do the rest. Now they're just 2 points away from being the 3rd team in the PPL, the 4th team this entire year to beat NIP.
Rock and Rukata take notes, baby.
I guess.
More on that later. But,
spoilers!
More on that later. What a performance.
Wow.
That's
Beautiful
the shot
read.
there. But see, then Alex kind of gets in his face, and that's why I say that's pretty much all he does in that fight. But I guess it was enough, man. I guess it was enough. Nice little quick scope there. But this Drogos felt like the trump card on Frozen Guard. It kind of is feeling like the trump card on Frog Isle too, man. Fishy's playing it really, really well.
Who deals with them? I mean, is it on Bittner and Alex to
Technically
just
Tenor, yeah.
kind of barrel stuff?
Yeah, Tenor can hit those shots.
True.
For sure.
Well.
But he has to, man. Just is what it is. Meanwhile, they have both of the point frontliners who just buy so much time. Baits out the Immortal.
Yep. Wow.
Done.
Goodbye, says Pacheco here. Bird able to pull one back, but through time and space. This is where the shots need to start hitting. They're not right now for either Pacheco or
He's just
Bittner
like, all
here
right,
in
I'm
this
done with
case.
that.
Let's turn around, turn our attention elsewhere. Ice Storm goes down, but Yang is just going to clone on out of that one. Fishy trying to pour out some damage here. They're the good daggers that Bittner needs, but he's so low. He takes so much return damage in the meantime.
Nice.
Alex looking to get aggressive. It looks like NIP may have found themselves some good trades. Great Seismic Crash lines up some good shots here for Erase. Juts keeps Virtus.Pro in it. They're fighting from the point here as well. Crunchy's going to fall. Fast cap for NIP as Virtus.Pro look to retake. Not the end of the world. They can still get point number 3 on this defense. Even if this one goes through, no immediate presence to get in and get a touch. Dosups actually is able to bowling ball in there, drops the Dome Shield as well, and they're going to contest.
Dragon Punch is almost back up, and there's no Immortal this time.
You gotta be kidding me.
Save them. There it is. There's the flare going out. 75%.
You gotta be kidding me.
Nice quick scope there from Erase. He's off the leash now. He's no flankers to worry about. Maeve is zoned away, and the man can go to work.
No way. Virtus.Pro stay in this one somehow after getting swept again. Bittner doing his best to flip that script. There's the Dragon Punch, the Whirlwind as well.
Not
over. Not the Whirlwind. Tops it all off here, not over just yet, getting traded back and forth. Bittner trying to hit the daggers here. Dosup stays alive. It's all down to Bittner, and Virtus.Pro do it yet again. They're losing the mid, and they end up flipping it around and are now pushing to beat NIP, who have 1 defense left to avoid going out of this set.
Positioning well for sure. I mean, this double point frontliner, everyone is kind of staying away. Erase is obviously playing around the window, but Fish is not playing on that dangerous stair side. He's kind of leaning a little bit more towards main. I think they're getting decent peel from Inara. I think is who's been primarily slowing down the approach. But for the most part, NIP are kind of getting to where they want to be on the map, but they just can't find the frags that they want. Some good rockets and some even better quick scopes, I think, from Erase.
Hello, damage.
Yeah.
And they got...
There's just so much time where Fish isn't contested. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To the point where we watched that, 1v1 for a little bit between him and Maeve. Nice air rocket there. I saw that one. Fish with 2.
Uh-oh.
He just did. He says, I'm bored.
I literally can just ignore these players and go kill tanks. They cannot effectively do enough damage to me, consistent enough in the air for me to care.
Erase, Cruncy, both looking to repeat what they did at MSI. Take down your top seed in NIP. Start off this week with a win. Seismic Crash might just start it off. Mave, Bittner's able to get out of that one. One more dagger is all he needs. He finds it on a Cruncy. Dosep stays alive, though, starting to skirt back towards the payload. They realize one Inara is just too many to lose here. Dosep's going to get juggled around likely before falling here. NIP doesn't go out just yet. A minute left for Virtus.Pro to maybe get back into this one. Still some ultimates to work with. Seismic Crash is all that's used. Dragon Punch could start this one off with a bang.
Using Roost pretty effectively. The desk mentioned it is getting nerfed, but every time Alex dives in onto a raise, he just kind of goes for a quick scope, and even if he misses, he's mitigating so much of the damage that he's taken. Fire Spit's not enough to finish it off. The Immortal's too late.
Dragon Punch, though, comes out looking for somebody.
He's
not
out of
affected
range.
by it. He finds Bittner. He's outside of the Immortal. Through time and space, doesn't find anyone from Bird here as Virtus.Pro look to bring their aggression into the base of NIP. Erase and Cruncy looking to do it for a second time. Bonker is all that's left down here as Diggy is respawned. Will have assert dominance, but overtime will begin here for Virtus.Pro. Vex trying to help out his team. The payload's inching ever closer here. Diggy all that's left. If they get rid of the frontliner, finally assert dominance is there. They're forcing back Virtus.Pro. They're trying to stay alive. Bittner needs to hit one more dagger. He does it. But Virtus.Pro on the back half, they just step out of range, and they beat NIP.
Little bit of an awkward positioning.
Oh, come on.
As the goal bolts in the chat, baby.
Oh.
Okay, Cruncy and Erase get it done again. Another death blow dealt to NIP on Frog Isle. 4-1, a convincing victory for Virtus.Pro. Slightly awkward positioning with the assert dominance.
Yeah.
Diggy fell out of it at one point.
Out of range.
Just died under it, I think. There is a little bit of vertical leeway with that ultimate, but I don't know if he was outside of the bounds of it to go in there to contest. That was just chaos, man. Sometimes you get on the back foot and it just starts to slip away from you, and it almost takes a miracle to get it back. And that's kind of been the theme of today, is like, both of these teams are so good. When they get so far ahead in a fight, even if you hit a big pick, a big ultimate, sometimes it's still not enough. That lead is too big. These teams are too good to climb that ladder again.
And now you look at NIP set tomorrow. We've seen them once earlier in this split. They lose to Envy, take a quick break, now come back, lose to Virtus.Pro. The first time I think we've seen NIP lose back-to-back sets this entire year. It's a lot of fun, though. Set number one goes the way of Virtus.Pro. Let's send it back to the desk and hear what they're thinking.
Well, Virtus.Pro are just playing on a different level throughout that game. It felt way more mismatched, but a lot of the matching that I would have guessed, if you go back to like the beginning of Split 1, what Virtus.Pro did is what we expect out of NIP, and well, and we see NIP in that kind of position. It's telling of where the league stands right now.
Yeah, VP were just figuring him out as the game went on, and I made a joke about the countdown, and it ended up being true. I mean, 4-3, 4-2, 4-1, that was it. VP just closing it out real quick. Looking at the stats here, Fishiko, high damage on VP side. Doe actually getting top damage, 10k over Fish, but I mean, a lot of damage kind of going into Nando, Ash, the tanks, soaking up a lot of it, Alex, Tenor. The double flank, I mean, the chaos, I liked the concept of it. That first fight went so long because of the constant harassing, constant point touching, but length of the fight, it doesn't matter if the other team takes it in the end.
True. And as you see here, I mean, 1, 9, 1, 7, 6 and 7, 12 and 10, they did a lot, but it was not quite enough. There you get 10 to 17. 12, 3, 17, 11, 5, 17. A lot of positivity going on throughout all of that. And I will say, like, Doseps through this game, throughout the set, had an insane performance. I think games 5 and 1 specifically were the ones where his slash line was insane. Cruncy got much stronger as time went on. But Erase and Fish Echo for this game, they were locked in. They were playing on something else for this one.
Yeah, Fishigo, I mentioned that combustible. I was like, oh, they can go combustible here, and then as soon as the double flanks locked in, I'm like, oh, worm jets. I mean, they have no way to deal with it, and the only time they could really kill him was when Tenor just engaged super deep to try to find those kills, and even when they go in, I mean, if Fish is just going to kill both of them, what does it matter?
And it's with shots like that, too. I mean, he was tracking in a way that you just don't see Drogo's players track. That is hit scan oriented. Like, I expect that kind of trade if we're watching Ricotta, if we're watching Rock Monkey and Vocal, etc., etc. You don't expect the mid-air shot from a Drogo's to connect that often. And it was just so consistent that entire game.
Yeah.
And it just blows me away to be able to see that. It was one of those picks that, like you said, it had no real counters to it. And IP, it felt kind of like things were just getting yanked out from underneath them the entire draft. And Virtus.Pro utilized that and pushed it to the limit.
Yeah, I mean, both flankers were so focused on killing a Raze. I mean, he had 9 deaths. I think it was 5 more than anybody else on his team. But they spend all their resources, get that one kill. Now they're kind of out on an island. Fishigo's still above them. The plane's soaring over the island, ignoring the SOS. And they just couldn't get anything more done from there.
And fortunately for them, that is the 4th loss here for NIP, I believe, throughout this entire year. They have 1 to Na'Vi, 2 to Envy, and now Virtus.Pro can pin themselves up there as one of the teams that has taken down the successful run of NIP. We'll have to see how they continue on in their future, starting tomorrow, and then, of course, going on in the future weeks. But for right now, Virtus.Pro get to revel in the fact that they won, and we have them standing by for an interview, so let's go see how they're feeling.
All right, fellas, congrats on being the 3rd PPL team to beat NIP up there at the top of the standings. I am very curious, though, you know, for Crunchy and Erase, they beat them at MSI. What's the mentality of the team as a whole, but also those two guys kind of coming into this specific match? You guys have a big week, NIP and Na'Vi. Was there a little extra on the table for this matchup?
There was a little bit extra, yeah. Comms today were a little bit frantic. We were a little bit over calming, but there was a lot on the table. We were able to calm down, and we were able to take it to him, honestly. Felt good.
For us, at least in those last 2 games, Drogo's kind of felt like a bit of a trump card for you guys. I don't know how much insight you have, and you start to chuckle, how much insight you have into Fishy's kind of thought process behind picking that. Was that his idea? Was that like the team's?
Fish thought we were kind of screwed when we picked the Drogos.
Both times.
He's like, it doesn't look good here, but I don't know what else to play, so I'm going to play the Drogos. It turned out to be a trump card, but we weren't going into it like this is our strategy.
This is the light.
You know?
It ended up working, so we'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out well for you, for sure. I mean, from a 6th place spot earlier on in Phase 1 to where you guys kind of are now and where the prospects are looking like, this could be a big week for you guys. What's been, I guess, the adjusted expectations with how well things have been going with these 2 new players added?
Expectations, we're not setting high. Like, we know we're a new team. We know we're going to need time. So we're using this season to develop ourselves for HRX. And if we end up 5th, 6th, doesn't matter. We're going to try to take it into the qualifiers. So we're not setting expectations high, even with the new players. We're kind of just developing towards the end of the season for what matters is HRX.
I'm on the opposite side. I think our expectations are through the roof. We brought in 2 champions from the championship team. They demand only winning, so that's how I think.
Well, kind of on the back end of the expectations, I mean, this is a gauntlet week, you know, standings-wise for not only you guys, but for Kanga. Looking at Na'Vi tomorrow now, were you kind of taking these matches as equals, or was this one the scarier of the 2 matchups for you guys?
Yeah, I think obviously NIP have been so dominant. This is the scariest matchup. Yeah. But I'm really excited to see Na'Vi play today with Ninu, and we're gonna go back, do our studying and whatnot, come back and try to put on better performance.
Well, better performance would be 4-0 instead of 4-1, about as convincing as you can get, especially against NIP. Congratulations, guys. Get back, get some rest. We'll see you tomorrow. We got one more game for you guys at home, though, so stick around.
Respawn, the official gaming chair of the Paladins Premier League.